Hello everybody and welcome back to the main action. It is the semi-final once again now, but this time it is Shaun Murphy up against Gary Wilson, two players battling to be inside the top 16 there ahead of the tournaments like Champion of Champions and the UK Championship, but now they will be battling for the final spot now. Nothing to separate the two of them in terms of the performance. You know, on one hand you've got Shaun Murphy beating the world number 2 Gary Wilson, and on the other one you've got Gary Wilson producing a brilliant performance yesterday up against Ronnie O'Sullivan, the Rocket, and a 7-time world champion. Who is he going to be to challenge Mark Williams in the final after the Welshman managed to put himself in the final there, beating Daniel Wells by 6 frames to 3 in the progress. And I hope a close game this one. It certainly is going to be a close game, because if you know anything about Shaun Murphy and Gary Wilson, they're going to try and give it absolutely everything they've got to try and make sure that that's going to be the case for you. And hopefully we're going to have a great match on our hands. You know, we all like a little bit of a challenge in terms of Daniel Wells of Mark Williams. But I think we want to see a little bit of a free-flowing snooker here, which is something that Gary Wilson and Shaun Murphy can provide us with. As Gary starts off then with a break-off shot, and Murphy has got straight away a red to try and take off into the right corner there. He has big breaks. I mean, he certainly is going to do big breaks, but Shaun Murphy has to do a little bit better than that. Nearly puts the red into the both of the right and left corner pockets. In the end, doesn't fluke the red into the second one then, but doesn't give anything away there to Wilson as well. And something that I did forget is give you a little bit of a poll on who's going to challenge Mark Williams in the final. We'll change that in no time. For now though, it is Wilson just send the cue ball up the table using some of the reds that he had very close to him as well. And yeah, I certainly think it's going to be very close in between Wilson and Murphy. I think it's nothing to separate the two in terms of the build-up to this game. You know, Murphy was absolutely flawless against Wilson, but was struggling a little bit against Ding Junhui. Just as I say that, probably never mind, because Murphy has gone on and produced an absolute cracker of a long shot in towards the right corner, and he's off to a great start. It would have been even better if he managed to land himself onto the brown into the left middle. Instead, he can try and go for a long pot once again now, and looking forward to see what the outcome is going to be. He's gone for the shot of a long pot there, and he's managed to make this one stick. So brilliant start there from Shaun Murphy. He's off to an absolute flyer. Once again, the cue ball landed itself perfectly for the red into the right corner. Yes, big breaks. I mean, talk about big breaks. He could be a little bit trolling in that regard, in terms of if you have a look at the first 6 frames of Mark Williams against Daniel Wells there. The highest break of the match was 42 points, and it was by Mark Williams. Daniel Wells' highest break was 34 points, and that has remained to be the case up until the end of it. So, hoping that it's going to be a little better than that. You know, Williams managed to produce a century break in frame number 7. Well, bad. Well, this is what I'm saying. Kevin will be like, thank God I missed that. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want for big breaks, this is the match for you. And this is the two players that are going to provide you with some of the best snooker that we've seen in the entire tournament. Yeah, well, I knew that would be the case. And Murphy with 13 points straight away. Lovely little position in and around the black spot. Getting 20 points on the board already. Absolutely no time wasting here. And Murphy is all about business. Whoever won, he's going to challenge Mark Williams. It certainly is going to be a brilliant final. So is it going to be the world number 16, Shaun Murphy, or is he going to be the world number 17, Gary Wilson? Those two have been battling it out recently after Gary Wilson managed to end streak of Shaun Murphy of pretty much 19 years, I think it was, in the top 16 there. It was an incredible streak there for him, the streak that he wasn't aware of until it actually came to an end there. And ever since, it was a massive performance by Murphy in the British Open to get himself an ITV slam there, but I think he wants to slam himself a little bit. I think he's on the run slightly for the red. Into the left corner. No reaction in his face whatsoever though. So he may still be alright for this one. As, he does indeed. He's alright, so he can take the red in towards the left corner, gets himself 28 points on the board, so he's about to go above Daniel Wells's record that he's managed to do in 5 hours there, in literally about 5 minutes or so, and he's 35 points for Shaun Murphy. Take notes, Daniel Wells. I'm only joking about it, but it's a brilliant start there for him. Right now, if he takes the red in towards the left corner, he can try and screw the cue ball in towards the reds there, still land himself on the black. And not quite gone according to plan though, because he can still try to put the pink in towards the yellow pocket there, but I mean, he ain't really going to be an easy shot for him to try and take on, so would expect to see a safety shot coming up now from Murphy, and he's done alright there, 36 points from the position that he actually inherited. It's a decent outcome. And let's see if he's going to take this one on there. It does seem to have a look. Of course, he can't really send the cue ball into any other color than the red, than the pink, I should say. The black is available, but you're not going to get a safety shot if you play like that. So he's gone into the pink, and he's absolutely unstoppable. Whatever you think about Murphy, one thing I'll say about him, and I haven't had this feeling since, I don't know, since Ronnie O'Sullivan in 2022. Whichever shots he takes on, I have absolutely no doubt he'll make it. I don't know why. Like, the pink that he was taking, like, it looked to me that he was wide, but I still had absolutely no doubt that he was going to make it. And no other player right now gives me that confidence. O'Sullivan doesn't, Trump doesn't, Robertson does it, Wilson does it. And I mean, Shaun Murphy does. Has been in a brilliant form this season. As I say, it's his second semi-final in 2 tournaments, and we'll be looking to try and make that second final and eventually a second trophy in a row there. Of course, he's going to inevitably lose out on some of the ranking points after New Year if he's not going to be able to regain his Masters title. After that was certainly a jewel in the crown there for his campaign last year. It's incredible, actually, when you think about it. Then Shaun Murphy is the Master Champion, and he was knocked out of the World 16 there. As, this time he's going to go for a safety shot after playing that wonderful pink. So just sending the cue ball on towards the black ball cushion, getting himself 42 points on the board. And now Gary Wilson will step back to the table to produce something that you'll be quite satisfied with. So a lot about Murphy already. And you have to give massive respect there to Wilson yesterday, beating Ronnie O'Sullivan by 5 frames to 2. As it misses a red there, so pretty much a bad timing there, as he leaves the same red away to Shaun Murphy. So bad timing in that regard, but and he was really intelligent in his interview with the way that he was speaking about, and he was basically saying that when you play Ronnie, apart from the mental block that it does to you, you have to understand that when you start off playing well against him, it could be a very dangerous thing. Because when you're not playing well, you'll try to feed off your sort of mistakes there and try and be pounced on them. So you'll try to be better when you're not doing well. And that is something that you think about it, that's exactly what happened yesterday, because Wilson gone 3 frames clear there, and Ronnie managed to take it into a 3-2 lead for Wilson, and the following break-off shot has led Wilson to having a wonderful clearance. And we haven't seen Ronnie in frame number 6, as Shaun Murphy has got a little bit of a delay now. The referee is dealing with one of the spectators. By the way, if you're talking about the arena being packed, it certainly is. Finally, the lightning was visible for you to try and see if the arena was packed out there, and certainly was, especially for this semi-final. Shaun Murphy up against Gary Wilson, one of the best semi-finals that we're going to see in the entire season, really. You know, you could argue about Judd Trump and Kyle Wilson at the Shanghai Masters, but don't think many other matches would try and go above that. Once again, Shaun Murphy having the second chance now to close off the opening frame in style here, as he gets himself 56 points on the board, so 14 of those coming from the current break. And right now he's leading in the poll already by 75%. Something that I will say, I forgot to do my score prediction there, which I'm going to drop in very quickly, but they won't really count, because I will say that I've done that a bit too late. But there you go. You can call me cheat, and that probably will be a fair assessment. But I do think Murphy's going to win this one, and I think he's going to try and do it by quite some margin, because I was very surprised actually by his drop-off against Ding Junhui yesterday. When he was leading by 4 frames to 1, he had a massive arse there of Ding, trying to find 3 snookers and managing to find 3 snookers. And Shaun Murphy has got the black now in towards the right corner to get himself a frame ahead now of Gary Wilson. And he's off to the perfect start now, this Shaun Murphy. And, well, yeah, certainly think that he's got everything to prove here. You know, lost out 2 frames on the bounce there to Ding. And still managed to overcome him in frame number 8 there. And win that match by 5 frames to 3. Wilson had to come through a decider himself against Mateusz Baranowski. And that was before he managed to whitewash the winner against Neil Robertson, Xi'An Yan. And of course beating Ronnie O'Sullivan for good measure as well. Murphy's now on 39 points, so can't quite make it a century break, but can still make it a 90 plus break if we are to see a total clearance by Shaun Murphy. And of course that will be the first 50 plus break, and that we're going to see in the opening frame. So gets himself nicely on the black once again. So the 2 remaining reds, I think they're both potable into the left corner. So just try and play through this shot now, Hugh Murphy. And he didn't think so, and he had to get the slightest of touches on that one. And absolutely sublime cue ball control once again there from Murphy. And it goes from strength to strength there, because he's just taken a rest there. Haven't seen him miss the red shot in an absolute while. And rolls the pink in towards the right corner pocket. Gets himself over 100-point mark. And on a break of 61 points and counting. So right now he can go up to 96 if he takes it with a black. But he's not going to take it with a black. He's going to take it with one of the bold colours. Probably with a yellow. And Wilson once again just having a look to see what's happening on the table. And Shaun Murphy's happening on the table. These 2 have been the best players of the tournament, but I have a feeling Williams is going to win the tournament. I absolutely agree that these 2 have been the best players of the tournament. Don't think anyone can argue with that. Yep, there's not more to say about it. And if you talk about Williams winning the tournament, I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I think whoever wins this one is going to be the favourite, simply because of... I think Williams is going to be drained. He's just had a 5-hour match against Daniel Wells there. He had 2 deciders against Barry Hawkins and Liu Haotiang. You know, he had a tough challenge against Zhou Yulong there. I think he'll come into that match as a favourite on paper, but I think he'll be the underdog to me. I think decider 65 now. I think Murphy will take this one comfortably. I appreciate your opinion as well, and could well happen. Absolutely couldn't see Wilson doing what he did to O'Sullivan, so never underestimate Gary there. And never underestimate Shaun Murphy, because he's off to a brilliant start here, producing a total clearance of 91 points there. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful there from Murphy. So breaks off 42 and 91 there for him to take the opening frame in no time at all. It's barely been 10 minutes and we started. In fact, it's been 15 minutes to be precise. But ultimately it is Shaun Murphy that is off to a great start there. And Gary Wilson has got it all to do in the second frame to find himself back level there. And yeah, perfect start for Shaun here. I think for the decider to happen, I think Gary Wilson needs to be ahead there. I don't think you can expect Shaun Murphy to sort of have a drop-off that Gary Wilson is capable of doing himself. To be honest, because I know both of them have lost 2 frames in a row there against their respective opponents. So Gary did that against Ronnie there, and Shaun Murphy did that against Ding Junhui. But, I mean, both of them were pretty much in control of their quarterfinals. And last 16 had a brilliant performance from either one of them. In fact, there was a whitewash from both. And I just think, for this to be a decider, I think Wilson has to take it, has to take the next frame. And basically, we need to have someone like not running away with it at all. So we need Murphy to be 1-0 up, then Wilson equals it out for a 1-1. Then same thing, Wilson goes 2-1 up, Murphy needs to make sure he equalises straight away. But this is why it's so exciting to see, because I've got absolutely no idea who this one, as I say. I've got Murphy as a massive favourite. But from the comebacks and from the performances that we've already seen, Gary Wilson puts up. I mean, he's beaten Mark Allen and Judd Trump on his way to Wuhan Open final, where he only just about lost out to Xiao Guodong. And that was really good play there from Xiao Guodong. I remember him just watching there, and he was just not making any mistakes there. Wilson had to feed off the scraps there that Xiao was providing to him. And we're about to get the second frame underway. And Wilson needs a good start, because the last thing that he wants to do is try and give away too much of momentum there to Murphy, as Murphy is going to be the player to break off, of course, for the second frame. So let's hope for him that he starts exactly where he left off and produces a wonderful performance once again against Gary Wilson. He doesn't seem to be too happy with the floor there. Hopefully that's going to be the only obstacle that is going to be in his way. And just taking the cue ball into the right part of the reds and looking for a good break-off shot now. Gets the cue ball exactly in behind the yellow. Nice shot once again there by Murphy. Wilson has got it all to do, and he has to find himself in the safety battle straight away there, because the last thing that he can afford to do is sort of leave away a simple breakaway chance for Murphy. And we've already seen what he's capable of in the opening frame, which means he's clearly up to speed there. And let's see what Wilson can produce out here. And he can produce a decent safety shot there. The red that he's actually played into went a bit too close there for, I think, his liking, in towards the right corner. But the angle that Murphy finds himself in is not going to be too easy for him if he wants to take this one and try and pot it in towards the right corner pocket. Of course, the black has gone onto the bunch of reds. The pink is not playable just yet, and Murphy just gives away his 4 points to Gary Wilson there. Clearly a sign that he's trying to take the red by the thinnest of margins, and ultimately wants to choose something about it. But ultimately I think he's going to give away this chance to Wilson. Just having a look to see if it's worth taking that on, or is he going to ask the referee to re-establish the position back to exactly where it was. And we're going to go for option 2 there. So once again, Murphy to have a second go there. Of trying to catch this red. Very thin on the edge there. And of course, mentally you have to go a little bit closer to the red. And you have to be very careful not to go too close to that. And it looked like he hit that one too thick in the nick of time, but still manages to get away with that one. Why no picture? Because I'm a mortal man and I don't want to be cancelled and put a ban on for streaming the live stream there. So if you want to do that, you can feel free to check out the TNT Sports 3 there. And Gary Wilson is going to pot the cue ball. No, he's not. He's just going to stop without reaching the green pocket there. So Shaun Murphy is going to take this red in towards the right corner, get the cue ball up the table once again there. And I mean, I said he's going to take it into the right corner. I didn't mean literally. It's a massive look there for him. And after a great start to the opening frame, it could be even better start to the second frame because of the way he spread those reds out. He could have left that red on for Wilson. Instead, he's got all of those reds available to his name, although the black is covered up, the pink is available. So yeah, apart from the black, it's a perfect position now for him to try and make usage of. So play through this brown right now in towards the yellow pocket. And once again, gets a nice little touch. Where's the picture? I mean, if you ask me one more time, I ain't gonna bother. But I ain't gonna show you a picture. And you can watch that on WSD Play and TNT Sports 3 if you want to. And for now, Murphy has got a shot off the red in towards the right corner. But he has to take that one with the rest. So may have to sacrifice the angle and get himself for the red in towards the left corner. I think that's going to be more interesting there. But of course, it's going to be more difficult of the pot into the left corner. Has to be very clinical with those chances. And so far he has been. Once again, it's a perfect shot on the cue ball as well there. So it was really tricky for him to judge the pace of the cue ball to land exactly where he wanted on the ping into the right corner. And Wilson still showing no signs of pressure just yet. Of course, will be very, very disappointed with the way this match has started for him. And 8 points right now is the difference in between Wilson and Murphy. So I think he can get through to that red in towards the left corner. Get himself a nice little angle on the pink or the blue. Depends on which color he actually is going to prefer to play. And that is the first real mistake that we've seen from Shaun Murphy. Sending the cue ball in towards the other red there. And getting stuck on the blue in towards the right middle. So gets himself into a danger zone there, Murphy. And he can still try and take this blue on there, but it's just a lot more difficult than it could have been had the cue ball travelled a couple of more of the distance. And that means that it's a lot harder for you to control the cue ball. So it catches the green on the way in. And he's going to be marginally all right now for the shot in towards the right corner. Right now, it's a very important red once again now, because not only does he have to judge the pace of the red perfectly, he also has to be very careful not over playing this red and not actually landing for the black, which is I think exactly what happened. Can he get through to the black now? Yeah, I'm not sure about it. He goes down to it, but goes back up there. So it's clearly very, very tight there. As I look at one more time, and yep, still no decision made. So I think if he's fine on the pink, he has to settle for going into the pink there. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be too happy with the way he's actually landed. As I say, it was very tricky for him to play that red in towards the right corner, and also just decelerating the cue ball enough to make sure he had a chance of potting the black. So has to go for the pink now. And he makes this one. And he's going to be nicely lined up on the red into the right middle as well. So still managing to recover from... I mean, that is going to be boring. Sorry, everyone. Give me a little bit of a moment. There we go. Nice stuff. And yeah, the red into the right corner, into the right middle is also available. And then you'll have the blue to go in towards the right middle, or some of the ball colours for good measure as well. But a very surprising miss, and it's the first mistake that we've seen of Shaun Murphy. I didn't expect it to occur at that time of asking, as he misses the red in towards the right middle. And right now, it is going to be the end of a break there for him for the first time. It's a massive mistake there. And the reason I say it's massive is because he already managed to develop some of those reds, at least 4 of them. Gary Wilson now has got a chance to take the red himself in towards the right corner. His first point scored off the pot there. As probably was always going to be not fair on Wilson from off Murphy having a frame-ending break on the fluke that he managed to do after trying to play a safety there, and ended up fluking the red in towards the right corner. So right now, Wilson has got a couple of reds to make usage of himself, as he's now 15 points down on Murphy. The biggest issue remains for him the same as Shaun had to face earlier, not having the black as his available colour. And once again, 14 points down, having at least 6 reds in the open play. And yeah, if he makes this one stick there for him, he can try and be a dominant force really in the second frame. Because if he just eliminates those reds, the task is going to get even easier for him. And for now, he can allow himself to be playing the reds that are already in open play, as it nicely cannons the cue ball in towards one of those reds, frees up even more room for him to try and land on the pink in the future, or in the red at the current stage of the frame. He takes that one into the right corner, and this time will have himself lined up on the pink into the right middle for good measure. So just play through the cue ball once again now, and potentially stun it, but I mean, I don't want to stun it too much, because that way you'll have to take the pink spot, which is not something that Gary wants to do right now. And, well, from what we've seen in the opening frame, it's all going to be the battle of whichever player makes the fewer mistakes there. Once again, lovely shot there from Wilson. And overgone slightly for the ping, but should be able to recover from that position. Once again, just has a look in towards the right corner of the table. And gets himself lined up for a shot and has to reach for it. Once again, cannons the cue ball really, really nicely. Gives himself prime position for the next thread in towards the right corner pocket there. And this time he can actually go for the black here if he wants. Reestablish it back on its own spot. And try and build a break up around that colour. Which will make it even easier there for him. Still a couple of reds that are actually going to be too close to each other for them to be possible at this stage. But I think a couple of them can be taken out one by one there. And therefore, it's not going to be a real issue there for Wilson to have ahead of himself. In terms of the issues for him to try and actually stop him winning this frame, is not really anything that you can talk about. You know, the green is positioned badly, but it's not going to need that one. He's got 5 of the other colours for him to try and play, and there's no way he's going to be less than 25 points up on Murphy when he's going to go into the last 6 remaining colours. With him already being 23 points now, 23 points up, I should say, on Shaun Murphy. Plays another red in towards the left corner, developing the 2 reds that I mentioned in the progress. Lovely break from Wilson there. He's about to reach 51 points there. So another 50 plus break, only in the second frame. So the red is going to be taken in towards the left corner there by Wilson. The pink is going to go in the opposite side of the table. And in terms of the frame ball, I think the next red and colour is going to be the frame ball there for Gary Wilson. And now he's 37 points clear. So the red will put him 38 points clear. So either pink or black will take him over the magical number of 43 points, which is the number that is actually going to be left out on the table. So the black for the win in the second frame and make it a 1 frame all there. Just as I say, I think we're going to see a lot of that. You know, players not being able to string 2 frames together just because of the quality of their opposition. And Wilson just confirming that with a wonderful break of 67 points and counting still. Of course, has got technically enough points now. Set left for Wilson, game on. It certainly is right now, because he's now away into the second frame. You know, he can still make a century break. You know, Murphy couldn't do that with his total clearance producing 91 points. Wilson can do that himself. He's on 74 points. The blue will make that 79. And he'll just have to navigate his way through the ball colours, which is going to be a little bit of a issue there, with the yellow being very close to the brown. Has to find a perfect space for it. That will be a lovely little start there, seeing the breaks of 91 and 100 plus to get us off started in the first couple of frames. 81 points already for Wilson. And could go up to 106 points, but this green now is going to dictate whether that's going to be the case, and it's not going to be the case because he misses the green in towards its own pocket. So it'll be a weird look there to Wilson, as if to say, you couldn't just drop in there for me. Could have had a century break to my name. And one of the 2 players that have had most centuries throughout the season, Gary Wilson and Shaun Murphy, separated by Zhao Xington in the second place there. Certainly the players that have made the highest stages of the tournament on quite a few occasions already. As I say, both have been to a final previously. Murphy managed to win one of those tournaments. Wilson not quite yet there. Losing out on a decider to Xi'An Gudong, as I mentioned, in the Wuhan Open. And until then, we've got still 73% for Shaun Murphy that he's actually going to win today up against Gary Wilson. That number is going to drop slightly, having Wilson equalise for frame number 2. And it's only been 32 minutes and we already had 2 frames finished there. So it's a great start now for the frame, and especially for the neutral watching. And not so great in the second frame there. If you're a fan of Shaun Murphy, he had himself a chance gifted by the fluke early in the frame, but managed to produce a break of 25 points and missed the red in towards the right middle. Gary Wilson has gone on to capitalize from that and produce a 81 break. That barring the green, you would think he would have made that total clearance from there and got himself a lovely little century break. That is still to come though. And so we already had the breaks of 91 and 81 respectively in between the players. And you would still think that the best is yet to come up in this clash. So now, as the players wait patiently for the referee to return, the stage is set there. And just waiting for Gary Wilson to break off now very, very shortly, as the referee will give him that permission. Just a little bit of a delay now. I suppose that the frame has gone that quickly that you have to have some sort of a slope. These guys like making max. Well, I know Wilson does because he's got 6 in his career. I'm not too sure about how many Murphy has, because I remember looking at the score. I couldn't actually remember that until Trump made his 7th one in the Xi'An Grand Prix, that he only had 6 maximum, which means he's got the same amount as Gary Wilson there, who's going to break off right now. And yeah, Kevin, if you know how many Murphy has, please let me know, because either I didn't know or I completely forgot. As, the break-off shot there by Wilson is quite nice, to be fair. I thought the black was going to be covered up, but it's not going to be the case. And Murphy just having a look to see if he's going to be forced into playing the cue ball into the cushion first. And trying to decelerate the cue ball on his approach to the bunch. You can see from the camera his view is very much limited. And Murphy made 10. Yeah, I thought I was going to say 10, but it would have been a bit of a guesswork. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And yeah, Murphy, I mean, it's been a while since I actually remember him making a maximum break. So I think you'll go back to something like 2022, which I remember. Could have been a lot more recent than that. As referee just once again, it's the second time there's Murphy at the table and the referee's asking for someone or something to be a little bit less distracted than it currently is. And yeah, Murphy played that one with some pace, but in the end the accuracy is going to take over there from Murphy, and it's a nice little shot there. 2 cushion escape underneath the bunch, and I don't think Wilson can get through to that red in towards the right corner. I mean, he was looking at that one really dangerously, and he still is. But I think he has to be just for safety here. Confirm. And because he was looking at the red that usually, you know, if the cue ball had been 2 centimeters further to the left, he would have been actually able to pot it. So I thought the angle could have been misleading, but he was only using that one as a cushion escape. And right now, Murphy has got similar sort of short selection ahead of him now. Murphy made one in February. Was that not in the Masters? Because I thought he actually made one in the Triple Crown last season. February. I don't really remember him performing really well in February. I think he was playing well at the Players' Championship. But fair enough. Thank you. I'll lead you on that one. As Murphy just had a brilliant safety shot once again now. In towards the left part of the table. And it's a cross double availability now for Wilson, but I wouldn't go further than that. He's got a chance to try and take this red in towards the right corner, but it's going to be a difficult cross double for him to try and make it 2 cushions last there. So probably has to take it into the left corner for good measure and try and get the cue ball up the table, which is exactly what he's done. Catches the black on the way in though. So I think you'll be really happy with that kiss, because that red could have gone over the left corner. And instead it's not going to be the case. So the red is potable now once again for Murphy, but it's one of those shots that you probably have to refuse simply for the fact of the cue ball going into a little bit of nowhere. And there's no real value in taking that red on for yourself. As Murphy plays the cue ball into the green there. And, he's going to be alright there, but I think he could have done without that touch on the green. Could have been closer in towards the bog cushion. So Wilson Once again getting the right edge of the red there. Sending it in towards the pack and potentially getting some of the reds out of there for good balance. And I mean, that good balance could not actually work out there for Wilson. If Murphy can see that red into the left corner, he's got enough of the angle for him to try and apply a lot of topspin and play for the blue there. And he's just having a look to see if LaPlante is on. So clearly, doesn't seem to be too focused on the red that I mentioned previously. But I think it's compromised by the fact that the brown is going to be in the way. Otherwise, I would expect Murphy to at least have a go at it. Not necessarily saying it's going to be the easiest one he's going to pot in his life. And it was against Zhou Jinghao and Xi'An Open. Xi'An Open in February last year. Never heard of that tournament before. Are you sure that was a ranking event? Or you mean Wuhan Open? But Wuhan Open wouldn't have been February then. It would have been August, wouldn't it? As Murphy still hasn't made his mind on this shot. And, well, let's see right now. If he is going to go for the plan that he's looking for, he has to make sure he covers up the red that is by the left corner. Because Wilson ain't going to go searching for plant if he's got that one available. He'll just try and send it one in towards the left corner. Nice little line there from Murphy. As long as the cue ball doesn't drop into the pocket, it's going to be a perfect shot there for him. And it is going to be a perfect shot. And Murphy can be happy with himself and what he's done. And Wilson can try and do a similar sort of thing there. Get the cue ball in towards the lower part of the table. And send it into the main pack of reds. Nice shot there by Wilson in terms of getting all the reds safe. And the cue ball is going to travel a long way as well. So a little bit of an issue that we're having ahead of ourselves is the fact that, you know, the safety has been so good that all of the available reds have actually been covered by the other reds. And therefore, it could take a while until one of the players gets themselves a clear-cut chance to go for it, especially in the left corner. I mean, yeah, it's the third time I've seen it. Murphy turning back midway through his shot as someone clearly making themselves loud. And just has to shake that one off. And of course it comes to a very important point of him. One minor mistake and it could be a frame-winning chance given to your opponent. But what a reaction this could be. What a reaction this could be. I mean, the cue ball was just slightly too pacey there. But still, what a shot Murphy's managed to find. The green ball pretty much was on the ball cushion. And in the end, well, Murphy manages to put the cue ball on his spot right now. Pushes the green a little bit more forwards. I think Wilson's vision is going to be very much limited. If he can see any of the reds on the left hand side of the table. And if he can't, he's got himself into all sorts of trouble. Because it's going to be a chance given away to Shaun Murphy. And if he goes for a cushion shot, I can't really see any zone in the lower part of the table, which is exactly where all 15 reds are, where you can say, well, it's going to be safe out there, and Murphy ain't going to have a chance. I think it's everywhere. You've got, the way the reds are spread out, you've got pretty much 15 of them onto the left lower part of the table there. So you're going to have to play from the right-hand side, which is exactly what Wilson has done. But this has to be a perfect shot there for him. And, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's quite nice there from Wilson. Because the more I look at this shot now that Murphy has got ahead of himself, the more I think he's not going to take this one on simply for the position of the cue ball onto one of the colours. So I think Wilson probably done the maximum that he could have. And as I say, has managed to get himself out of a very difficult situation. But I do very much hope that those shouts or whatever it was that was distracting Murphy from the crowd are going to stop pretty soon there for him, as Murphy goes for a red in towards the yellow pocket. So pulled that one out of the bag. Couldn't quite make that stick though. I didn't expect him to go for the shot, of course, mainly for the fact of him risking of leaving the red. In the end, he didn't make the pot, but he didn't leave the red there. So pretty much back to square one in this frame. And Wilson will just get himself set up in behind the green nicely. So clever shot there by Wilson. And Murphy has to find himself now facing a shot that is actually more difficult than the one that he managed to put on Gary Wilson. Of course, he had to do it under different sort of circumstances. But I don't think that's going to matter massively if you're, well, Gary Wilson or Shaun Murphy, really. And let's just see if he can get through to this red. And that's going to be, well, I mean, the referee is going to hope that Wilson is going to take the shot from here. And the fact that the cue ball has dropped into the left middle is probably going to compromise that. Basically, what happened is Murphy was snookered in behind the green, or so I thought. Murphy tried to play through that green, basically, and try and get the edge of the red there. Didn't manage to. Got the green first. And I think Gary Wilson will take this red in towards the left middle. So a referee can say, phew, and just move on with the rest of the game. And of course, has to make sure that the white is inside the D. Especially if your name is Hossein Wafai there. Up against Jimmy White. We'll remember that one. And Karen Wilson, after his match, up against David Grace when he had respot, having a very nervous look on his white when he was trying to break off there for a respot, and him, the referee, and the David Grace seeing the funny side of it, of course. But I don't think Shaun Murphy will be. As I say, he was off to a great start against Gary Wilson. But right now, it is the world number 17 that is finding himself settled in this match, and all of a sudden trying to apply some pressure on Murphy. Managed to get an awful lot of points in the previous frame. Can he try and do a similar sort of thing here? And I think he's overrun for the red that he actually was going for, in towards the right corner. So I think the backup option is going to be the right middle. And if he just plays through this shot, he can try and get himself lined up for the pink or the blue there. They're going to be available, but it's all about trying to free the cue ball up from very much being hampered by all of these reds, and has to bridge over a red potentially. As I say, made the mess out of this shot potentially. You know, he had a nice little shot on the brown, but ultimately he's got himself into a difficult position with the red, but he manages to get himself out of trouble as long as he's on the pink, and I think he is from the angle that I can see. And he's having a little bit of a nervous look towards the black though, so something that you don't want to see, but seems to settle on the pink. Or does he? Because he goes down for the shot and he goes back up from it again. So it could be a similar sort of thing that Murphy has found himself in, and it is going to be the similar sort of thing that Murphy has found himself in, because Wilson has to play a safety shot there. Thank you for covering. Long day for you. Well, as I say, I'm not going to lie and say, you know, I would have done Daniel Wells against Mark Williams anyway, but I was always going to do the Wilson against Murphy match, and it just turned out that Wells against Williams was the morning one, so I thought you may as well do both of them. Had Shaun Murphy and Gary Wilson were playing in the morning, I don't think I would have done the Daniel Wells Mark Williams thing, simply because I thought it was going to be exactly what it actually was, quite lengthy and quite scrappy in the first place. But then I was very pleased to see Williams coming back in a good form there, winning 4 frames on the bounce. And can one of these players try and discover their form? Because for now it has been a bit of a Murphy fan. Well, I mean, let's see. If you're a Murphy fan, I think you should be looking forward to this. Oh, you mean me? Nah, absolutely not. The only player that I'm actually a fan of is Ronnie, but he's already been knocked out. But haven't got anything else against pretty much any other player there. I'm quite a fan of Murphy, yeah, but you could say the same about Wilson, Trump, Robertson, Williams, Higgins. Just like them all. Apart from the ones that dislike, obviously. Wilson, though, having a look to see if one of the reds is actually potable in towards the right corner, and if it is, which one is going to be taken as his next colour. Yeah, good to watch Murphy. Yeah, it's absolute pleasure. Especially when he's up against a good opposition. You know, I still remember his matches against Robertson and Chomp, and what a pot this is. I mean, I was talking about Gary Wilson potentially considering to go for a pot in towards the right corner, and look at the distance that the cue ball has travelled. Brilliant shot there. Murphy had the best view in terms of him standing there looking at this brilliance of shot, and I don't think he would like to see that one again. Because it's beautiful when you do that yourself, but it's horrible when your opponent does that to you, because there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And Gary Wilson is off to a great start once again now, for the second time of asking in this frame number 3. And he's off now to a gap of 13 points to his name. 3 of those coming on the current break here. And in terms of the position of the reds, it's complicated, but it's manageable. In terms of the position of the colours, you've got pink that is going to go back on his spot right now, after the shot in towards the right middle. And then you've got the black that is completely out of the game, and you've got the blue that is very close to the green pocket himself. So if he finds that the pink is not going to be enough there for him, you can always try and go for the blue to be freed up and back on his spot. But I don't think we're going to see black feature in this break. And Wilson just has to play through this shot right now and get himself lined up on the red once again into the left corner. So 27 points clear. And the cue ball is going to go in towards the pink here if he wants to, or he can just try and roll the cue ball through the shot and get himself lined up for the right corner. So very similar to the one that he had previously. And he's gone for the easier option. So just lining himself up with a pretty straight shot on the pink. And thankfully for himself, he's got a little bit of angle in the right area for the cue ball to be sent down the table. And he's got a couple of reds to choose from. Not too many though. It has to be very precise in terms of his cue ball placement. And once again, plays that one just about perfect. So 34 points on the board, 24 on the current break, and 34 points ultimately is the gap in between the two players. 99 still on the table. Wilson is off to a great start ever since the opening frame, where didn't really manage to do anything wrong there. It was just pure brilliance of Murphy. And am I right in saying, is this the first time we're going to see Murphy being on the losing end of things ever since the quarterfinal at the British Open? Because he managed to take his qualifying round against, I think it was Artemi Zizens in a brilliant way of 6 frames to 1. May have been Yao Ping Chen actually, not Artemi Zizens. And yeah, so Wilson is going to join the elite club there of very, very few players that have managed to be ahead of Shaun Murphy. Of course, the world number 2 didn't manage to do it. Going Wilson, and Wilson there making the mess out of the position, but could have actually got himself out of jail in the same second. So he got the cue ball into the reds there, but ultimately has freed himself up with one more to take into the left corner. But has to reach very far there and get past the red as well. So just put this one through and get himself lined up on a semi-difficult black in towards the right corner to be very close to another 50 plus break. Of course, this black will make it 40 points on the break and 50 points as advantage there for Wilson. So has to be careful though, because the position is still very promising to Shaun Murphy. And nice shot there by Wilson. Manages to get himself out of trouble in no time at all. Now the black is going to be put back on the spot, and well, the position that was looking nice for Wilson anyway is going to be even better. After cannoning the black previously, and I mean, I was just about to say he's off and running here, but what a mistake this is, as he got away with it though, and not left the red in towards the left corner there for Murphy, because it was a simple red. The black that he's managed to pot previously was a lot difficult of a cut than that, but he just maybe took an eye off the pot there, trying to focus too much on the positional side of things, and is actually Murphy able to pot this red now. Because if he ain't, he's going to have a difficult safety shot to try and face. And with the way his body language and the way he's trying to do laps around the table, just having a look to see where their safest cue ball position is going to be, it's a sign that Gary Wilson managed to get away with a shot, and Murphy has to play a safety now. So still 83 points on the table. So there's more than enough of those for him to try and make a comeback. And it's a good start there for him. Gets the cue ball in behind the green there to cover up the right-hand side of the table. The left is still going to be available there to Wilson. But difficult to play a safety shot off the left-hand side of the table unless you try and pot the red in towards the left corner. And as we just have a look to see if what his visibility is like. Yeah, so he can try and go for the red in towards the left corner and actually go and for pot it. I can't really see if he's got a plan B in that regard. So he's 50 points clear now, but you know, the reds are not necessarily in the worst position. The green and blue are out of position, but also in a potable situation. So you may have to take this red on, but it's a horrible shot for you to try and do, because if you make this one, it doesn't give you anything. But if you lose it, it gives away something to your opponent. And Wilson manages to take this one, as I say. Probably was a bit of a get out of jail card, but not going to be a frame-winning opportunity unless he takes the black on and manages to pot here. So this time is a lot more of a difficult of a cut than the one that he's taken on previously. And I would expect him to just roll the black on towards the cushion and go for himself, sending the cue ball up the table. But I would take that option. Gary Wilson wouldn't, as he tries to go for the pot and he manages to make that one stick. So always a brilliant decision when it works for you. It's always a horrible decision that you get criticized for if you don't make it. But that's the way the life goes. Once again, though, it's a difficult shot for him into the left corner, but you may as well not use the term difficult shot on Gary Wilson, because very few mistakes came from him so far. And that red is certainly not going to be one of them. Although he did find himself pretty unlucky, landing straight on his green. May have to consider taking the blue in towards the green pocket there. It's a difficult cut there, but at least he gets the cue ball down the table. And option C is, of course, try and get the cue ball in behind one of the ball colours there. And get yourself positioned for another safety battle. If your opponent does manage to find an escape from the snooker, then you line up on him. And, well, bit of a desperation shot, I would say, from Wilson. I think he didn't manage to get the blue in for the simple reason of, you know, the angle not being there. But he managed to take the green in, so 62 points clear and 67 on the table. Still not quite good enough there for him to take this frame in the current visit, unless he manages to find the red that he can try and pot. And yeah, just having a look to see how the reds are positioning themselves. So probably will have to split up the bunch of reds on the lower part of the table, which I don't think he actually wants to do. But the alternative being taking the plant on that is looking absolutely nowhere near the pocket. But I say nowhere near, he is actually considering that one. I mean, surely that is too much of a shot for you to take on. The adjustments that he has to make to this plant in no distance at all is massive. Surely it must be difficult to judge there, but I did say don't use the term difficult shot there by Wilson. But this one was difficult. And, well, that 62 points could not mean anything now, because Wilson is going to go back to his seat. Clearly playing that with a couple of reds being on the cushion. But Murphy is going to have at least something to say about it, as he can try and take the red in towards the left corner. But, yeah, I say he can try. Don't think he wants to do that. The red probably is just too low for the cue ball to be played into it. And of course, if you're going to take the rest there, you have to literally climb pretty much 99% of the table there. Just how low the cue ball is. But the reason why Murphy wants to take this red so desperately is because then you'll have the black available into the opposite corner. And into this corner the next time he wants it. But this is just a difficult shot there for him. And also the fact that he can't really control the cue ball as he's going to head towards the pink. And it's a nice shot there for him to recover. So being down on 61 points, of course, any colour that he misses puts him a couple of snookers down. But until then, he's still fine to be in contention for this frame. And so right now, in terms of the issues, you've got three reds being compromised, one by the other. The green has been restored back to his position by Wilson taking it. That's the 62nd point that he scored. And the blue is still possible into the same pocket as it was previously. But yeah, I think Murphy is going to be in some trouble. As I say, any colour that he misses puts him needing snookers. And he just landed himself right in between the the pink and the black there. I mean, he can't take the black on. So he has to go for the pink, but can't really go for the middle. So he has to go for the yellow pocket shot there. And a lot of power applied on that shot. So clearly still trying to stay on the break. And it's a brilliantly well done. And it's a brilliant shot there. Well taken there by Shaun Murphy. Because he's now finding himself 48 points down. Still 51 on the table. And I mean, does he go for this red now along the cushion? He was trying to do that. But then he went up from it very quickly. So clearly not too convinced that. Should be taking the shot on there. And just about drops it. I thought he caught too much of the front jaw. But he manages to take this one away. But the problems don't end well there for him. Because he's got the wrong angle on the black. He's got the angle to go up the table, not down. Therefore, it's going to be very difficult for him to try and land a position on this red. In fact, pretty much impossible there for him. And surely just a safety now to play. Still being in the contention, to be fair. As he's got 43 points on the table. 40 is the gap in between himself and Gary Wilson for the frame number 3. I mean, surely he's not taking this red on now. I mean, he did. But I think he's just killed himself because he can't go for the black now. I mean, can he go for the blue that I mentioned was quite close to the green pocket, but I didn't mean he was that close. I mean, this is a weird shot selection from Murphy because if he gets the blue in, he's still alright there, but if he doesn't get the blue in, he's pretty much lost the frame there, so I'm surprised that he's tried to go for the red. I get that you try to get the most out of the position that is within your grasp, but I think he just went for the shot there that wasn't really on there for him. So if he takes the blue on right now, he gets himself 28 points. It's going to be 34 down. He's going to have 35 on the table. So he can still do it. But, I mean, this is a really difficult shot of a blue to try and take on. The cube was exactly on the cushion, but he's got no other choice there. But he makes it. He's not going to be on the red, though. He might actually be on the red, but he's also pushed the yellow towards the left cushion. So he's hanging on there, Murphy. But he's doing just about enough to stay in this frame. Now 28 points, still 35 on the board. The yellow is, of course, still possible along the cushion. And the red that Murphy has got himself lined up on, has got to transition on towards the black. Doesn't want to catch too much of the front jaw there. And he's missed the red. And has he given it away there? And the body language suggests that he has. And I think that the camera angle suggests that he has as well. So it is going to be frame to Gary Wilson if he manages to take this red as his frame ball. Just roll this one in, and yep, it's exactly what he's done. So he's going to be now away into a 2-1 lead there. And well, this frame has probably been the first one that probably you could call quite a lengthy one of the 3 that we've had. Once again, it's got the yellow to try and take in towards its own pocket along the cushion. So these shots are the ones that Murphy could have been playing, and he's still been in this contention, and he managed to pot the red. He would have been there on the black into the left corner, but instead it's going to be Gary Wilson trying to produce a break of 35 points as a total clearance. Game on. It certainly is game on, especially for Gary Wilson. I mean, there's a perfect reaction there for him. It's something that he managed to do against Judd Trump in the Wuhan Open. And remember, that got him into the final there. You know, losing the opening frame just to get yourself a 2-1 advantage and ultimately build on that and develop even more of a points gap to his name. As for now, it's a ping that he's going to have to be missed there by Wilson, but it is going to be ultimately the frame there for him. And one thing I will have to say, it's very much game on there between the two players, but I'm afraid I am going to have to go for a bathroom break myself, so I'll be with you in just over 2 minutes. Bear with me here. Apologies for that, but the most important thing is we haven't missed any of the action and we're back just in time for the break-off shot by Shaun Murphy that actually finds himself on the back foot right now after winning the opening frame. He has now lost 2 frames on the bounce there, and we are now into the 4th frame, and a nice little situation there for Gary Wilson managing to get himself started here. And once again, what a shot this is, just after the break-off there. And Wilson is off to a fantastic start once again in frame number 4. And he's producing some of the wonderful snooker here. Putting another red in towards the corner. Getting on to the blue as well. And getting himself started with a perfect performance so far against Shaun Murphy. Especially ever since, you know, the Murphys winning break in the opening frame. Managed to get himself into a nice little cushion there. And so Wilson now taking the red in towards the right corner. So get himself lined up for the black into the same corner pocket. Just a little touch of that. Make sure that the cue ball is not going to impact the black ball spot there. And it's still going to be a potable red in towards the left corner. So this is a great chance for Wilson to get himself an early 3-1 lead there, the same lead that he's had against Ronnie O'Sullivan yesterday. Went on to win the match by 5 frames to 2. Ultimately, he's not going to be able to do that against Shaun Murphy because it's best of 11 right now. But it's certainly something that you can try and build on. Winning 3 frames on the bounce will be a great thing for him there. Oh, so far he's managed to score 22 points here. And get himself into the red. Into the left hand corner there. So I think if he accelerates the cue ball in towards the reds there, he can try and separate a couple of more to his name. And he's gone for the shot, and he could not have worked out better for him. Once again, being so good in the positional side of things there. And his cue ball control has been absolutely perfect. in his performance so far. Still yet to make a significant mistake by my standards. He's off to a great start in the frame before that. Only a single shot played by Shaun Murphy. And he's already... Hello everyone, hello Gatecrasher UA. And Wilson is on fire. I mean, he's dominating here. He's dominating Murphy, that is actually playing well himself. You know, I did say it was going to be Murphy's domination, very much fueled up and confirmed by the opening frame. But ever since then, has just been such a brilliant performance there by Wilson. And he's trying to set the place on fire. I mean, someone called the fire brigade because I think it's all on fire now when Wilson is coming to the table. 36 points already. He's got so many reds there available, all made by himself, by the way. You know, it was a break-off shot by Murphy, and you can never develop too many of those reds on the break-off there. And all of this that you can see ahead of yourself, all of these reds are now, is part of Wilson's work. Right now, the black to go in towards the right corner. Once again, get the cue ball up the table. Lovely little angle and the perfect cue ball control. 44 points clear, 99 on the table. As he gets himself into contention now to win third frame on the bounce. And be off to a great start. I mean, I think he would have taken that 3-1 lead in any circumstance, especially after losing the opening one. And he's going to be halfway into the final already. And with the way this match has gone already, he's been very unhappy with something there. I mean, he's pretty much stopped the shot through the way there. I mean, usually you would expect something horrible to happen, like a miscue, misread by a mile, on the run for the black there. And he seems to be alright on all of those. On the run for the black slightly, but he's almost snapped the cue on the way in. So... nice to see for him that still gone away from that, and he just has to recover the cue ball in towards the reds there and get himself back into the prime position. Once again, maybe it was some noise from the crowd. Maybe he was just not happy with the traction or the pace of the cue ball. Whatever it was, he re-established himself back in the prime control of the position. And this time he'll take a red in towards the left corner. So he'll try and take the cue ball in towards the black there. So let's just see what he's got up ahead of himself now. He can try once again send the cue ball into the main bunch of reds. Doesn't have to end up on something because he's going to have a guaranteed red in towards the right corner. Just wants to put a little bit of distance in between the colours and the reds in respectively. And I don't think he'll want to catch the pink at all now. Just try and keep the cue ball on that red. I mean, with the way this camera is showing right now, I don't think he's actually landed on anything, but it looks like it was the case for him to try and play for. So maybe that red is actually going through there. Not sure why the broadcasting team is doing so much of this top shot camera view. I mean, I can understand why they were doing it up against Wells or Williams when they were trying to roll the cue ball towards the reds, but surely it's not the right camera for you to show the break building that Wilson's got. Now 68 points clear, so the red for the frame ball. And all of a sudden, Murphy, whilst not doing anything wrong in this frame, will just have to sit the rest of it in his chair. And, you know, it's nothing you can do about it. And you can just see what Wilson's doing, as he was a bit concerned there and almost stopped walking as the red wasn't going to drop, but in the end it did. Gets himself lined up for the pink in towards the left middle. The black into the left corner is also possible, but with him having to breach over the red, it's looking to be the pink now to go into the left corner. And send the cue ball into the main reds there as well. So the pink is going to drop, and you'll have a couple of reds to choose from as well. So 75 points already, his highest break being 81. That did come in the second frame. It's probably the only stat that he's actually trailing to Murphy by. Is the highest break in the match, but I don't think he's going to care one bit about it, because A, it's not how you win matches, and B, I think he's going to try and absolutely smash that now. Having a prime chance for a century. None of the reds are in semi-difficult position really. I mean, one of them is quite close to the cushion, but it's still more than playable if you get in behind it. Wilson with a 84 points of a gap now. And same amount on the break. 51 points still on the table after this black, so this could go up to 140 plus break there for himself. He only used the blue ball twice there, the pink once. Therefore, he's potentially on course to lose 5 points right now. So 142 is still possible if he takes the remaining 3 reds with the blacks there. For now, he's going to focus on making it a 99 points break off this black and getting himself onto the red there for a break of 100 points. So he can go for the blue there. I think he's not going to go for the bold colors because that's going to be just too much distance for the cue ball to try and travel. And GG's happy. Well, it certainly is GG's happy now, especially if you're a Wilson fan. I mean, if you're a Murphy fan, I don't know what you can say about it because you always try and blame your own player. I don't know what you can say. Murphy's done wrong there, really. He's just been Wilson. Absolutely brilliant there so far. A break of 105, and it doesn't seem to stop to take a breath away there. 106 points right now, so still for 139 points to be fair. Not quite going to be 140. With him losing those 3 points on the blue and the pink that he had to play. But this time, the yellow to go into its own pocket there, play through the shot and bounce off the cushion on towards the green. Back into its own spot. And we're not going to have the repeat of frame number 2 there, where Wilson stopped on the green for a century break. But he's now got that to get out of his mind as he pots the green into towards its own pocket. The brown will go in the same one. And then we're going to have a straightforward clearance of the blue, pink and black all being pretty much on their spots there. I think the pink has gone just underneath it. But ultimately, it's not going to matter for the break of 139 points. As Murphy just now watch awkwardly in his chair there and just settle for an intermission break when he hasn't really done anything wrong there, part of missing the red in the second frame. And is now Wilson absolutely flying right now. A break of 139 points is a brilliant way for him to end off the first mini session and get himself certainly on 1 foot in the final. Murphy has to settle for a 3-1 deficit going into the second mini session. It is now Shaun Murphy 1, Gary Wilson 3. What a start this has been for the world number 17. Has certainly managed to win 3 frames on the bounce there up against Shaun Murphy. That's got it all to do now. He wants to challenge Mark Williams for the title at the Xi'An Grand Prix. It is now Gary Wilson 3, Shaun Murphy 1, and will continue after the intermission break of 15 minutes time. And after the 15 minutes intermission, we are now back for the action, and it is Shaun Murphy up against Guy Wilson part 2. After the opening part has been very quick there, almost 70 minutes there that it took those two players to play the opening 4 frames, and it is Guy Wilson that comes out on top of the first mini session, and it is Shaun Murphy that has to find himself going up again now and producing a comeback. In fact, I've managed to Google that one, and the first time since he was losing a frame to Wu Yize there, it was the only time ever since that British Open final that he actually finds himself on the receiving end of things. And, well, being outplayed right now by Gary Wilson, can try and go for this red into the left corner, and what a wonderful shot that is. A perfect response there from Murphy. You know, the break-off shot by Wilson was decent, but clearly wasn't good enough there from Murphy's point of view, so he had to try and exploit the red in towards the right corner. Now he has to take the black into the left corner and get himself lined up on the red in the same pocket. Lovely done there, once again there by Murphy. Here we go, big breaks on the way. It certainly is big breaks on the way. We've already seen some from Guy Wilson. The breaks of 139 and 81 in frames number 2 and 4. And in the opening one, we've seen Shaun Murphy produce a wonderful break of 91 points. So credit to Kevin, to be honest with you, because he did manage to call it before the semi-final was started. So he certainly got that one spot on. And I was too hesitant to say that because I probably thought the same about, you know, the opening semi-final, but that didn't turn out to be the case. Very happy to be wrong about this one. Murphy now tries to take the black in towards the right corner, loses the cue ball though. And has he landed himself in towards a shot into the middle, or does he have to play a safety? It'll be a massive waste if he does, because the position was looking so promising there. I think he can go for the red into the right middle, but it's one of those high difficulty shots that you're not sure if you're going to take on. And the camera angle just doesn't make you feel confident about this one. You can try and roll this one in, but if he misses it, I mean, A, he'll leave the same red available there for Wilson, and B, he'll have a couple of more better options there to his name. And is he going to miss the front jaw? Yes, he is. So just about got the slightest of contacts on that, but way too little power and way too little contact in itself. And Murphy is going to be back at the wheel if he gets the black in from a little bit of the angle. And this is a lot better now from Murphy. Still has to bridge over the red, but at least he's got himself into a comfortable situation in terms of having a couple of reds to choose from, and also just being in complete control of the cue ball and the way he's playing this game right now. Plays through the red now to get himself lined up for the black in towards the left corner, so 33 points clear. And he's going to get himself 40 right now with the black. So I'm just cannon the cue ball into the reds, take a couple of more of those out. Lovely shot once again by Murphy. Not only did he get the perfect positional shot on the red into the left corner, but also managed to get himself a couple of those reds in the available play. Already up to a break of 41 points, so could do an absolute reverse thing of what Wilson has managed to do to him in the 4th frame, where it was Murphy's break off and Wilson only needed one invitation to go for a shot that ultimately proved to be the one that got him 139 points. Could Murphy try and do something about that one? And one thing for you to keep in mind on as well, by the way, am I right in saying that he's still on 6 reds, 6 blacks here? I mean, we did have that conversation about a maximum with Kevin, and I don't want to say anything, but the reds are probably about as good as he's ever going to get. So let's see how that one will pan out. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing a lot more action from Murphy, and it certainly is. All blacks, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just keep an eye on this one. 7 reds, 7 blacks there. And it doesn't really get a lot tougher than that. All 6 colours, barring the pink as always, are on their position. Once again, another red disappears into the left corner. So let's just take this one carefully. But let's also keep an eye on this break. I was about to make it 64 points. Still has to navigate his way through the reds perfectly here. And very nice shot there at that time. Getting that red that was a bit remote there out of the way. He'll have more than enough angle on the cue ball to bring it back for the black if he wants to, and of course he does. Lovely little shot there by Murphy once again. That was the hardest of the reds for him to eliminate. The next one is going to be a bit easier than that. He's going to take it into the same corner as the black there. Just wants to be the top side of it, and he will do that. So lovely shot once again there. 72 points for Murphy. Play through the red once again now. Get himself onto the top part of the black. As I'm just very cautious about having a look at every single one of those reds. And I was so cautious about it that I missed out the frame ball. It was, of course, the frame ball, but I don't think we care about that one right now. As the black once again disappears into the corner, but the cue ball needs to run there. And it ain't going to run. Ain't going to run 80 points. And it looks like you'll have to go the distance now if he wants to land for the black. And he needed the cue ball to run there. I think he's landed with too little of the angle for the black. And just forced his way through here. The pink get out of the way there. Decent. From the position that he actually found himself in, he managed to force and brute force the way for the black. But this is a difficult shot right now for Murphy. Has to take this one carefully and just roll the black in, and it's not going to drop, is it? It's going to be a very big shame there for Murphy, because he was doing ever so well up until that black, just being too straight on it. And it is going to be the break off. 81 points. Unfortunately, it's not quite going to be a perfect break. But ultimately, Shaun Murphy will still be happy with himself as he gets himself another frame on the board in absolutely no time. I think it's been less than 10 minutes since the frame has started. He gets himself a frame on the board now. And it is now Gary Wilson 3, Shaun Murphy 2. Not quite the perfect ending that I think all of us would have wanted. But Murphy can still be happy with the way he's managed to navigate his way through. You know, starting off with a brilliant red in towards the right corner. And managed to still get 81 points out of it. So the break's like 81 points by each. 91 points from Murphy and 129 points from Wilson in the five frames there. So it's certainly looking really, really nice there on whichever way you look at it. And we're about to have the 6 frames started as well. So they'll still guarantee to see 3 more frames of this absolute show here. Put on by the 2 man from England. Shaun Murphy wants when the WSD ranking update, and he'll get his very much anticipated ranking points for the British Open. He'll be the world number 12 there. And of course, on top of that, he can try and get himself some of the ranking points for China Grand Prix here. So there's Xi'An Grand Prix. Wilson will be challenging for a top 16 visit as well, trying to dispatch the likes of Si Jiaowei and Chris Wakelin, that didn't seem to have such a great campaign in this season as well. Of course, Wakelin managed to get himself into the semi-final of the Saudi Arabia Masters. Nearly knocked out the world number 4 there, Ronnie O'Sullivan. And in the end came up short with the 1 frame and lost out in a decider. As we get the 6th frame underway very shortly. This time it's going to be Shaun Murphy's turn to try and break off, as the fans certainly making the most out of their moments. And trying to be visible on the screens. Waving to the camera there, and talk about the crowd. It certainly is packed out there. And all the players want to see the best of the action. And these 2 players have certainly provided the most out of it in the entire week here at the Xi'An Grand Prix. And right now, looking forward to seeing what is going to be the reaction of Gary Wilson here. Shaun Murphy is going to break off now. And, well, Wilson will try and resume the tendency there, because technically, if you talk about the 2 frames, it has been a break-off shot for player number 1, and the player number 2 has went on to win the frame in the upcoming visit to the table. So whoever broke in the last 2 frames, that was their only shot there. For Murphy was frame number 4, and for Wilson it was the frame number 5 there. I mean, it's going to be impossible pretty much for Wilson to try and do it. So good was the break off there from Murphy, and really he has to find himself just not being too much on the back foot and just trying to apply some more pressure of his own into Murphy. So get the cue ball sent in towards the main bunch of the reds, and of course has to be very careful in terms of leaving Murphy with the red in towards the middle pocket. And I say he has to be careful. I don't know what on earth he was doing. because he's left that red way into the danger area there for Shaun Murphy, and he can try and take this one away. I mean, potentially, you could argue that he's got a better option of taking the same red in towards the green pocket there. So whatever it is, can be once again just a single shot played by Gary Wilson until Shaun Murphy's going to be away here. But let's see if he makes this red in, and he is going to do that. Just about rattles the red in. Played that one with a little power. Still wobbled in the jaws. But good news probably end than that for Murphy, unless he's got some of the reds that I can't see from here. Landing himself the wrong side of the blue, which of course he will take anyway. So maybe the brown, maybe the green now. So really, it has to be the brown if you want to get the cue ball down the table. And it's going to be a difficult pot if he makes this one, but no hesitation at all from Murphy. And the brown it is. And once again, it is a chance of a break for Shaun Murphy. Gary Wilson played, well, 2 shots so far in the last 2 frames, and Murphy has got himself a second chance. We all know what happened with the first one. And wonderful shot once again right now. Little bit too much of it, to be fair. A little bit too wonderful in terms of the cue ball pace there. All the reds are spread out really nicely, but a positional shot on the black is going to be difficult. With this camera, we'll know if he drops in before Murphy will, and I don't think he will. If he just rolls it in, he catches the front jaw, but just about drops in. So the fact that he's played that one with absolutely no pace has done him a favour at that time. Murphy's off to a fantastic start now in the frame number 6, exactly what he's done in the previous frame. And of course the split that he managed to do previously has got him so many reds to choose from that he may actually never run out of them until the end of the frame. If he manages to combine those with colours, make sure his pot success doesn't drop, and all of that is going to be combined towards a perfect performance in frame number 6 potentially on the cards there for Murphy. And had to start off of getting the cue ball past that red on the cushion. Just about managed to do that, and he's still in prime position for the black. As he gets himself one more shot in towards the left corner, and then you'll have so many reds to try and choose from. Pretty much spoiled for choice now. You can try and go for the right corner, you can try and go for the left middle there, and you can try and go for the right corner and for the right middle as well there. So pretty much all the 4 pockets are going to be available there to Murphy. As I think you'll have to go for the one into the middle after getting a little bit of a cannon into the red, but not going to change the picture massively, as he just has a look to see the shot along the cushion. Of course, the one into the right corner is going to be compromised by a couple of reds. So just the red into the right middle that is going to be available there. And nicely done there in terms of trying to pot the red. And gets himself a little bit of distance there in between the cue ball and the black. But ultimately, it's still a nice angle. And there's enough distance in between the cushion and the white itself for you to try and get comfortable enough there to play this shot. And absolutely powers the black in. A real conviction there in those shots by Murphy that manages so far to find all the answers to the performance of Gary Wilson previously. And trying to challenge for the scoreline being 3 frames each there. And rolls the red once again in towards the right corner. And gets himself into a nice position once again now for the black in towards the left corner. So a couple of reds to follow up into the opposite side of the table. And that's the way this break has been going there for Murphy. 37 points already now. All of those coming on the single break here. And of course, remember that Wilson has only played 2 shots in those 2 previous frames there. And Murphy just trying to make sure that that's going to be throughout the entirety of the frame number 6. And he's not going to have any more invitation to Gary Wilson because the position is still looking absolutely perfectly there. So any slip up from Murphy, you can see him drop down in terms of being the favourite for this frame. Of course, he is an absolute massive favourite right now, being 45 points clear. Get the red in towards the right middle. Going to be another step towards the win. And the blue, nice little angle on the blue as well, in towards the right corner for another 50 plus break. Averaging pretty much 1 per frame. And once again there, Murphy getting himself nicely for the red in towards the left middle. And trying to apply a lot of power on this to get himself some sort of angle on the blue. Getting full control of the red. Once again, didn't want too much of that, so clearly playing that shot with purpose. And roll the cue ball through now on towards the right cushion. Murphy's up for this game. I mean, everyone's up for this game. I'm up for this game. Kevin's up for this game. And I think Murphy and Wilson are certainly up for the game. You know, I can't say anything bad about the referee either. And I just think we've got all the conditions in the world. And we could still potentially have a 3-0 lead now. 3-0 draw, I should say. After only, what, less than 2 hours of action. And we still have absolutely no idea on who's going to be the finalist. You know, it's been a pleasure to watch so far. And hopefully, not necessarily the best is yet to come. But at least it's going to remain the same way. As Murphy right now has got a little bit of a difficult red. Into the left middle. To set himself up with a frame ball. But once again, dispatched brilliantly there. Real conviction, real pace and real accuracy there on all of these shots from Shaun Murphy. As he gets himself fired up now. Up against Guy Wilson. Great commentary. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. And you're not even the paid actor, which is the best point about it. And 67 points on the table now for Wilson to try and get himself up back in this frame. But I don't think that's going to happen because there's no signs of Murphy slowing down. And he still can go on. Not quite equal the break of Guy Wilson because he's just gone for the green there. So it's not going to be the case at that time. 77 points right now for Murphy. And, well, right now it's going to be the red that is going to be semi-difficult there for Murphy to try and cut in towards the left corner. But the blue is going to be waiting there for him. If he just manages to do that. And, of course, he will. Once again, look at that cue ball position. You could not have played that better. I mean, if you told Murphy you can just pick the cue ball and place it anywhere on the table, he would have put exactly what he actually managed to do. It is absolutely perfect, and it is absolutely pleasure to watch there. I mean, what a contrasting final it has been. Someone has said previously, I think it was Sunwell, that it was one of the most boring matches they've seen in the entire season. And I said it's up there. But I mean, this one is going to be on the bottom of the list because of both of the players. And especially, it's nice to see because it's not like it's Shaun Murphy's 6-0 win there. Whilst having the breaks of 91, 138 and 127 or something. It has been shared by the two of the players. And it's going to be 3 frames each. And we're going to have the new highest break there for Shaun Murphy. So can he make it a century break after... You know, ran out of points there in the opening frame. He made a total clearance, but still only could manage 91 points on top of the 42 scored previously. And right now it's a break of 97 points. So all about the next color after this red. Gets himself perfectly onto the pink in towards the right corner for 104 points. Century break. Second century already in this match. And what a performance it has been. Fantastic there and fantastic reaction from Murphy. It must have been so difficult for him to try and go into the intermission, being 3 frames down to 1 there, having pretty much done nothing wrong there from his point of view. But what a reaction it has been. He certainly has managed to do everything right here, right now, because he is now up for this game if he wasn't previously. And he's looking to march on for another brilliant century break, make it 130 plus century break number 2 in this match. Can't quite equal the brilliant clearance of Guy Wilson on the frame number 4, but it's not going to matter massively. It's not like it's a battle for the highest break. Those being the maximums, of course, from Judd Trump and Aaron Hill. Exciting. I don't think you mean exiting there. I think you mean exciting. And it certainly is exciting, and it's brilliant in terms of what we're seeing from both of these players. Because it doesn't really get better than that, especially if you're a neutral. I mean, if you're a fan of either Murphy or Wilson, you might be saying it's not that good because I'm so nervous. But if you're a neutral like me, I mean, it's such a beautiful thing to watch there. Such a high scoring snooker from both of these players. And it's now a break of 131 there for Shaun Murphy as he gets himself the 3rd frame on the board now, the 2nd in a row. And Guy Wilson has to do it all again there. It is Shaun Murphy 3, Guy Wilson 3. all to play for, and it has turned into the first to three match, something that we've seen with Daniel Wells and Mark Williams. Remember, Wells was leading by 3 frames to 2, and you know, Williams went on to win 4 of those frames. Of course, the contrast is, at that time, Daniel Wells wasn't particularly playing well, and he was the underdog going into that match with being up against the world number 5 seed and the highest seed left out in the tournament. And right now it is the world number 16 technically against the world number 17. Sorry, don't worry about it. As I say, it's all fun and jokes. And talking about the percentage stuff, Shaun Murphy is getting 65% that he's going to win and be the finalist up against Mark Williams. Probably fair. I'll probably put that at 60 right now, because before the match has started, I would have put him like 75. But from the performance from Wilson, if he manages to keep it up there, he'll get his chances. And inevitably, he'll be able to put himself back in the equation. But remember, I say get his chances. It's not like he's done anything wrong in frames 5 or 6. He literally had 1 shot in each of those frames, one of which was a break-off. So it's like, nah, as I say, don't worry about it. We've all been there. And the referee will just go for a little bit of break himself. And Shaun Murphy and Gary Wilson are going to wait patiently. And this time, of course, it is going to be a Gary Wilson's break. And we all know what happened the last time he managed to break off. He didn't have a shot after that shot there in the entire frame. Shaun Murphy managed to go on a brilliant run there of 81 points. He thought he could have been challenging for a maximum, but that, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And in the end, he did go on to make a fantastic break as well of 131 points in the next frame. And it is Gary Wilson that is going to start us in the frame number 7. So guaranteed to witness at least 3 more frames of this wonderful show. But who's going to get ahead now? Is it going to be Shaun Murphy for the second time? Or is it going to be Gary Wilson for the second time there? Because both of them have had different gaps there. Wilson had a gap of 3 frames to 1. And Murphy, the only time he was actually leading was during the opening frame. Right now it's a much better break-off than previously. But of course Wilson had the entire frame to think about the break-off there. Because I don't think at any point he would have been saying to himself, you know, I'm going to get a chance here. Because Murphy never looked like he was slowing down. So this time around, it is going to be more than 1 shot for Wilson. So that's a start. Because Murphy has just sent the cue ball in towards the bunch of reds. And going to be change of turn. For the first time in a frames distance, really. But the position is a lot different to the one that we've seen previously. The black is covered up, the pink is covered up, and there are 4, the remaining colours, of course, at this early stage are all on their spots. And a wonderful shot once again now by Wilson. He knows better than anyone that he has to be playing absolutely top stuff now. Because it's been 2 hours of match time. And it's absolutely nothing to separate the 2 players in terms of the points in the current frame or in frames 1 in total. I'd very much like to see the points scored in the entire match, but I think that's going to be within 20 points of each other as well. Once again, I was going to say a lovely shot there from Murphy, but in the end it's a massive mistake there. I think it's a mistake that he's going to be fortunate to get away with. You know, he was trying to go for a cross double, which was tight. Just shows how previous shot from Wilson was good there, but caught the double kiss. The cue ball now has gone very close towards the right middle. But I don't think any of the reds that are potable into the left corner. There's going to be a free space for them basically, because they're going to be compromised by some of the other reds. And Wilson here just trying to go for a plant there. Clearly aiming the cue ball to be very safe in behind the ball colours. Nice shot there for him, to be fair. Because even though he does miss the red, he gets a perfect angle on the cue ball there to put Shaun Murphy into a little bit of trouble. Murphy himself is starting a planting towards the right corner and trying to apply all sorts of magic. They call him magician for a reason. He needs a little bit of magic to keep that momentum going there up against Gary Wilson. And it's a wonderful shot to respond there with Murphy. One thing that you have to say, you can admire the break building and the point scoring that they've had. but you also have to say a massive well done for the safety play. There's a reason you have to, sort of be taking your chances on the break-off shots. Both Wilson and Murphy has done that already in frames number 5 and 4, sorry. And right now, it is Wilson that probably makes a mistake there. I mean, you could see that one coming in the previous frame, but not necessarily of the way that he's actually played his shot. He's carrying the cue ball in towards the main pack of reds, but somehow one of those reds has ended up alongside the blue line, in towards the left middle. So now the difficulty of this shot is going to be not only that it's quite a thin cut there for Murphy, but also the black is still covered up. The pink is now a bit more freed up in terms of it being possible into the middle and the right corner, I think. But I think the target for Murphy is going to either have to be the blue or pink there, unless he wants to send the cue ball up for the ball colours. And it's a brilliant shot in terms of potting the red. A little bit worse in the perspective of trying to go for either blue or sort of pink, because he lands exactly in between the two. I don't think he's going to take out of consideration the shot on the green there, because the angle is there and it's actually quite close towards the corner pocket. So Murphy's choice seems to be the blue there. First time it didn't work out. He goes back and he goes down again. Nice shot in terms of potting the blue. How's the angle going to be? And it could not have worked out better for Murphy, because he is going to be off into a great start once again now. Into the 7th frame for the 3rd time in a row. How many shots did Wilson play, by the way? 2, 3? I think 3. And, I mean, it's an improvement on the previous frame, but I mean, Murphy is just so rapid with those chances. And it wasn't like, you got that one of a fluke there. And it was a difficult cut there. And Wilson only has himself to blame for him actually leaving that red available for Murphy. Once again, lovely little action on the cue ball. Getting himself for the black in towards the right corner. Had to generate a lot of power on that. Otherwise, the pink would have been in the way. And a lovely performance. He's about to get better from Murphy, you would think. Finds himself ahead in the match for the first time since the opening frame. Being 14 points clear of Gary Wilson. And counting, of course, on the break. So many reds available there for him. And the fact that he's managed to get the black back on his spot. Clearly, he's going to try and eliminate that red that is currently blocking the black to go into the right corner. And from there, you can try and take it. Full control there of the position. And make it absolutely his responsibility to try and produce some moments of brilliance here. I mean, he's got the position up ahead of him. And it's all about just trying to, clear up some of those reds. And then the position is going to get even better there for him. As for now, he'll take the red in. Don't think he's landed perfectly on the pink. Into the left middle. So play through this shot here. And get himself lined up on the red in towards the right corner. Yeah, wonderfully taken once again there. Come on, Gary, here we go. Michael, the legend of the chat there, especially from yesterday. I mean, not less of a legend today. Nice to see you in the chat as well. I know you are supporting Gary. You were very unpopular yesterday in the chat of Ronnie fans, but now I think you'll have a lot more popularity, including from me. I mean, brilliant performance in, frames from 2 to 4 from Wilson. A little bit less so recently. Right now, Murphy's trying to challenge for a 3rd frame on the bounce there for himself. And right now, 29 points. He's ahead now. So easy got a red in towards the right corner, because that'll free up the black to go into all of the corner pockets. And you can try and just go for the red in towards the left corner and settle for just 8 more points and do all the damage later. But I don't think that's the Murphy way. I think he wants to try and do things right here, right now. And as he just takes his time on the shot, he's got plenty of that. His average shot time is not going to be compromised massively, just with how little time he was taking previously. But he does go for a straightforward shot. So just eliminating the first one. And having himself lined up for the black in towards the right corner. So play through the black right now. Or you can try and screw back on this one. 37 points clear and counting. The red to go in towards the right corner. Get himself lined up for the black in towards the same pocket. And continue the break of dominance there up against Wilson. Still yet to score a point in those 3 frames. He's played only a very limited amount of shots there, Wilson. But of course, we all see what he can do from frames 2, 3 and 4 there. You know, pretty much being and doing to Murphy what Murphy's doing to him right now. It's been an exchange of brilliant breaks there and brilliant performances from each of one of those 2 players. And certainly, I mean, from the performance point of view, you have to say whoever wins this one is going to be a massive favourite in the final for me. Williams is still yet to get it up to speed. So it'll be a little bit of a conflict of interest there, because there's going to be Williams that is going to be the favourite on paper. Or there's going to be Wilson or Murphy playing an absolute snooker of their life here. Once again, Murphy's got himself lined up on for a red. In towards the right corner. Plays through that one. The angle was there naturally. As he gets himself on for the black here. In towards the left corner. So plays this one with the natural angle being there already. And at 61 points is going to be there. Is for the taking. So 83 points currently on the table there. So making that 75 here. So the next red is going to be the frame ball there to Murphy. Because the black is going to take him 69 points clear. With 75 on the table. And that amount, of course, will decrease with the red being taken out there. And into the pocket. And Murphy has got a couple of reds to try and choose from. He can try and roll up the red along the cushion. Or you can try and go for a simpler shot, and I think you're not going to invent something on the frame ball. Just go for the simpler shot there, and if you're so desperate for a century, just be a little bit better in terms of that red later on. And it says it is a brilliant performance once again now from Murphy. You know, he's been flawless in these last 3 frames, making a century in the progress, making a break of 81 points and being in charge for a maximum there. Couldn't quite work out in the end, but still a break of 131 points in the upcoming frame. And he's now up to a break of 76 points. And of course still counting, 59 on the table after this black. So still is on the charge for a potential break of 140 plus. But that is super unlucky there. And well, the thing about Murphy is I think he'll be lucky. And I think he'll be disappointed that he's been so unlucky, I should say, on such a late stage of the frame. But can he just about get through to this red in towards the left corner? And yes, he can is the answer. So forget about him being unlucky. You write your own luck there. And Murphy has certainly deserved all the luck in the world right now. He still has got technically enough points for a 1-4-0 break. If he takes 2 of those reds with the black there. For now, the first one is going to be taken with the pink. And the total clearance should still see him improve massively on the break value of his. You know, it's been at 131, which already is brilliant for whichever player you are in any stage of the tournament, especially doing that in the semi-final, especially when you're doing that back-to-back after a little bit of a difficulty with the safety play earlier. You know, the position was very much covered up until that point. But right now, it is a shot for the century now for Shaun Murphy. 2 on the bounce there, and 2 in a row. Brilliant from Shaun Murphy. Certainly getting the appreciation of the public and smiling about it. And so he should be. Wonderful performance there from him. So it doesn't look like it is going to be the break of 140 points plus here. Because he needs the black to do that. And if he is going to roll this one in, he's going to be in for a chance of exactly 140 points of a break. That will go over the break of Guy Wilson, who managed to produce a break of 139 points previously. And don't think he's perfect for this green, but is he just about fine now here? Because that will be the last piece of the jigsaw until the 4 remaining colours, which are all on their spots there. So Murphy can get through to the green there. And it's a wonderful performance that just keeps on getting better from Shaun Murphy. Gets the brown into the yellow pocket there. 4 more points. And now 3 shots is all he needs now for a break of 140, and to do a breaks of 131 and 140 potentially is something that you very, very rarely see players do, even the best of them, when they're playing some of the best snooker there. You know, Murphy did say when he managed to beat Karen Wilson that it was the best match of best of 9 format that he's ever played in his life. Well, he's certainly playing some great snooker now, because he manages to get a break of 140 up against Gary Wilson, who has been playing well, but this is an outstanding, once again, another outstanding frame there by Shaun Murphy that turns the lead of 3 frames to 1 to Gary Wilson on his head there, and all of a sudden he's leading himself by 4 frames to 3. It is 4 for Murphy and 3 for Wilson. And as I've been saying, Gary Wilson has got it all to do now, but that has been the case for 3 frames on the bounce, and he still hasn't found an answer. Shaun Murphy's been finding all sorts of answers right now, and I sometimes get mixed up between Gary Wilson and Anthony McGill. Don't ask me why. I get mixed up between the pink and the green there. So on fire wants this. I mean, he's on fire. I mean, if I was saying call the fire brigade because Gary Wilson managed to win 3 frames in the bounce, I mean, you might need to call 3 now. One of them is going to be for Shaun Murphy, one of them is going to be for Gary Wilson, and one of them is going to be just for all together, because all of the fires that are actually producing, I mean, that is probably the best semi-final that I've seen all season. You know, you could argue that Ronnie's 2 maximums was, you know, a lot better to watch, and I would agree from Ronnie's point of view. I don't think Wakelin was playing as well as he could have, and I also don't think Ronnie was playing perfectly in that semi-final as well, but the pure brilliance from the 2 players. You know, we've had breaks of 139, 140, 131 there in the last 4 frames there. And Murphy is just wiping his hand. He's gone like this. He's certainly excited for it. And he'll be up for this 8th frame. Remember, it's his break off now. So, I mean, get the counter of shots that Gary Wilson's going to play, because that counter is just going to be, certainly going to be underneath 10 for the last 3 frames. And I actually think it may be underneath 7 or something, because I only counted 5 there. Shaun Murphy's on fire. Gary Wilson was on fire. Can he re-establish the fire? Or is it going to be just too much for him to try and do right now up against in-form Shaun Murphy? It has been a brilliant performance there for him so far. And Wilson's just having a look to see if, well, there's going to be some sort of chance for him up against Shaun Murphy, that he's going to go for a break-off shot here. And right now, it's his chance to once again put off a good show here for the fans. That I think, whatever you paid for the ticket, it certainly is going to be worth it. Oh, this is an aggressive break-off shot there by Murphy. And where's the cue ball going to finish? And he's got to get himself nicely onto the red there. So Wilson is still in with a chance here to go for this. I mean, what do you do for Gary Wilson, by the way? He's just lost 3 frames whilst playing 5 shots combined in all of them, if my math is correct. I don't know what you do, but he certainly didn't try to go for that red. But has he left the red there for Murphy to try and take on in towards the left corner? I think he would have been too careful not to do that. In the end, it is going to be the chance for Murphy at least to send the red down the table that is currently very close to the green spot there. As he just has a look to see what's going on with that red. And I don't think he's going to be too happy with his performance anyway, Wilson. But I mean, if you're a Wilson fan, I mean, I don't really know what you can criticize him for. He's barely made any mistakes there in the opening 4 frames, and he certainly didn't make any in after the intermission. But somehow he's managed to lose 3 frames on the bounce there. And of course, remember, all of them came after the intermission break. So that potentially came at the worst possible chance for Wilson. And it came at the best possible chance for Murphy. Once again, Wilson not playing too good of a shot there, leaving the red quite close to the right corner. Murphy will have a look to see if the black is there waiting for him. And, this is one of those shots there that no matter how well you're playing, you can actually miss those types of shots really easily. And let's see if Murphy is going to be up against that number. And he is going to be up against that number. Once again, a single shot played by Wilson. And Murphy is on the attack here once again now. So I'll get that counter going. I don't care. He's still yet to score a point since the intermission, by the way. Whether it's a foul point, whether it's a pot there. Murphy is absolutely on fire. And yeah, I think he's got a red now into the left corner. I think he didn't really mean to cannon the cue ball into the red the way he did, because he just got himself to a little bit of trouble. Yeah, so he has to go for the red into the left corner instead, not into the left middle. This one is difficult, and one thing you have to do as Murphy is you can't get complacent, because you'll still miss chances, as he's just missed there. The good news is, of course, he's got himself a 4-3 lead, but it's the first real chance now that Guy Wilson's got ahead of himself. Murphy with a little bit of a mistake. It wasn't like a massive one, but it was unlucky with the way the cue ball was bounced in towards the Reds. Ultimately, does look to cost him dearly. And Wilson can try and go for this red now in towards the middle. That Murphy has refused because of the angle. And Wilson's not going to get too far on this one though, because he's got a really difficult shot of the pink here. Of course, he's still got a massive bonus of the red being over the left corner pocket. And what Wilson's can try and guarantee himself is a positional shot on the red. But he can't quite guarantee himself a pot now, and he'll be rusty and raw coming into this shot now. Can't afford any of those mistakes, and the front edge jaw is going to be very close to him. And he catches the front edge jaw, but still drops the pink in towards the right corner. Come on, Geordie, lad. I mean, Michael's done his magic. He's managed to come back here, and he's just gone. You know, it's the first time in 3 frames, as I say, that Wilson had a chance. And it comes from a Murphy's mistake, which is something that we haven't seen too many times either. Wilson has got himself into a little bit of a difficult situation, though. I mean, he was always going to get that red on the left corner pocket, but he tried to play the cushion first shot, upper rail. I think he misjudged the pace there. Has to roll the black in to keep the magic going, and I don't like the trajectory there of the black ball, and it is not going to drop there. So unfortunately, come on, Georgie lad, to turn. It's going to be a little bit compromised by the mistake there off into the right corner. And the thing about Murphy is, can't really give him any mistakes that, you know, you're not going to regret there. The Reds are still positioned perfectly there for him to try and make a break off. And 8 points each now. So a red and a black that have managed to pot. And of course Wilson doing that with 2 reds and pink there. And Murphy once again re-establishes himself as the leading force in this break. And after Wilson's mistake, he's looking to make that one count. And of course that's the beauty of when you get the first chance, because there's been a mistake each from Wilson and Murphy, and yet it's Murphy at the table now. And the reason is he was the first one to have his mistake. And when you do that so early into the break and the position is still raw, you are very much likely to get another chance there. But the problem for Murphy is I don't think he's actually going to be happy with himself with the shot that he's got to place here, because even though he's really good with the rest, this shot is missable, and it is going to be missable, and it is going to be missed there by Murphy. So far, the breaks, 3 breaks of 8 there, so it could be a little bit of a commentator's curse there. But I suppose I haven't imposed that on frame 6 there, because I've been so praiseful of the 2 players. And back to the serious stuff. Wilson can try and go for the same red in towards the right corner, but this is very difficult. And he has to be very gentle with the shot. I mean, forget about gentle and forget about gentle. He's played, absolutely hammered the red in. And pretty much done himself a little bit more damage with that, because, you know, the red has dropped in comfortably. He's not even had a glance of touching the jaws, but has gone over the balk line area and got himself into the brown of the giant pot in towards the right middle. And yeah, he was aiming for the back end jaw there, which I think is the right decision for you to try and do. He still manages to remain in the break as he drops the brown in, pretty much not touching the jaws once again. So 2 chances for Murphy. that he only managed to get 16 points from. And this time it's a second chance for Gary Wilson, as he's got a little bit of a difficult red right now into the left corner. Managed to take that one really nicely. So 14 points now for himself. Now the blue to be taken in towards the right middle. Wilson just having a look to see what the position is going to offer to him. And Murphy this time has to be sitting in his chair doing Wilson's work from a couple of frames ago. And Wilson himself has to just see which red is he actually going to be trying to aim for and ultimately end up on. The problem is, even though none of the reds are currently on the cushion, there's a large amount of them that are compromised one by the other. But it's a decent shot that Wilson has played, but it's not going to do him a lot of justice, because now he's once again coming up against a difficult shot in towards the right middle. So this one is going to be far from ideal, because he has to play this one with a little bit of power. And the front jaw is going to be there for it, but not this time around. It looked like he played that one too close to the front jaw, but instead he's played that one absolutely spot on there. And once again, some perfect shots being played by Gary Wilson at the time when he has to. Can't afford to lose another frame to Shaun Murphy, who's already lost 3 in a row there. After winning 3 in a row, of course. So it has been a little bit of a change of form. But this is not the change of form that Gary Wilson would like to see. Because after making a difficult red in towards the right middle, he now has himself with a simple safety shot to play. Because I don't think he's landing on any of the colours, any of the reds I should say. And unless he's going for a double, can't really see what he's going for. And he's going for a double. It's going to be close now. It's going to be very close. And he's just about missed the double by a very, very slim margin. Wilson needs this frame. He does. And the bad news is he's just lost out on the break. Good news is he was aiming for the black and he still hasn't given away anything easy for Murphy. The bad news is, of course, when you don't give away anything to Murphy, you usually find something of a long pot. And once again, he's got that into the yellow pocket, but can't quite control the cue ball perfectly in terms of getting that into the safe area. Of course, there's no way you're going to travel the cue ball on towards the top part of the table if you're playing a safety. With the way that Wilson has just missed that red as a double in towards the right middle, that has gone over the right corner pocket. And right now, Murphy just has to see. So the red that is actually very close to the cue ball and is potable in towards the yellow pocket is not playable in towards the green, simply for the reason of the blue being in the way. Apart from that, as Murphy does seem to make a very concentrated face here. So clearly thinking about 400 options that he's got ahead of him. It's not quite as simple as an attacking shot or a safety, but he does seem to go for an attacking shot here. Looking nice, not looking nice. Changed my mind midway. And he has missed the shot into the yellow pocket. The red has gone safe though. So clearly, Murphy understanding that that was the only red that he was going to actually leave on for Wilson. And Gary himself has to have a look at what these options are. And get himself into a comfortable position into this semi-final. And the way to do that is by winning a couple of frames, producing brilliant breaks there. So pretty much everything that Shaun Murphy has been doing ever since the intermission. And pretty much something that Wilson has been doing himself up until the intermission has started. But right now we find ourselves pretty much in the unfamiliar area of two players having to go for the safety shots here. And no one being a clear favourite for the frame there. Something that we haven't seen for the significant amount of time. And probably not since the start of it. As he just plays there. The cue ball in towards the red. So once again, leaving a similar sort of shot there to Murphy, to the one he's missed into the yellow pocket. Of course, I don't think he's got just as much of control of the cue ball as he had previously. So has to take a conservative approach, you would think there, and just try and do something different there. Maybe try and put one of those reds onto the cushion there. Don't think you'll be compromised by that massively. I mean, he's not going to do that on purpose, of course. I'm saying just to find himself a better angle on the safety shot, because he still only finds himself 11 points down with 91 on the table. So it's the first time in quite a few frames that we're not going to see, it looks like, the break of 81 plus points. And we've seen 3 century breaks in the making, and we've seen a maximum attempt there by Murphy. That he's managed to take 10 reds and 10 blacks in, but ultimately couldn't manage the 11th black into the right corner. Nice shot there though by Murphy. Clearly understanding that there was no chance for him to try and go for an attacking shot and still land himself with a chance to get the black in. Sending one of those reds towards the top part of the table and getting Wilson lined up with whites being pretty much tucked up into the black ball cushion. So he's got a chance of trying to roll up to the reds from the left hand side, but pretty much has to do it from underneath there, which is impossible to judge when you're actually playing from underneath already, being right underneath the black spot right now. And you can try and take that red out of the game that I was talking about, that prevents you from playing the cue ball on top part of the table, or you can try and roll up to, as I say, from underneath. And so this is what he's tried to do, but he just gets so little control of the cue ball in that way. And I think once again it's going to be a similar shot that Murphy has taken on previously into the yellow spot, into the yellow pocket I should say. But this time he's not going to have the backup of getting the cue ball into a safe place. So probably not this time around then. Because as I say, because the cue ball is positioned right underneath the red, he can still try and pop the red in towards the yellow pocket, but the cue ball is inevitably going to cannon itself into the reds. But is Murphy taking the shot on now? No, he's not. He's just playing the red away there. And lovely little control of the cue ball. But ultimately, I think he was committed to leaving the shot for Wilson into the yellow pocket. So similar one to Shaun Murphy refusing a couple of shots ago simply because of him by being hampered up by the red. This time Wilson is not hampered up by the red, but I think he's going to be struggling heavily in terms of putting any sort of side spin or top spin. And you can't put any sort of backspin on this one because of the cue ball position being so close to the black ball cushion. As he just has a look to see if there's going to be any availability for him to try and play here. I think he can try and send the cue ball onto the top part of the table and just try and give himself a little bit of a cannon into those 2 reds. But of course that is only possible if you guarantee yourself that you're going to cover up the red into the right middle. But there was no guarantee of that, and Wilson comes up with a brilliant shot in the end. As long as he doesn't leave anything away there to Murphy, which is easy, he came away with a brilliant shot, and that's exactly what happened. So I think the only option that he's got ahead of himself is going to be the shot in towards the right middle as a double there. But apart from that, I think Murphy's going to struggle to find an opportunity for himself. Just looking to see what is actually available there to him. And maybe he's just going to try and nudge that red in towards the sort of left middle. Get your cue ball once again into the same area that it was previously. So just force Wilson to try and roll up to those reds by taking out one by one there. Because eventually Murphy will have an extra shot on Wilson, and Wilson won't have any red to try and roll up to. I think Wilson understands this though. So he'll try to take and leave the train before it actually gets burned. But I think for one more time he has to play a roll-up shot in towards the bunch of 3 reds this time around, as one of them has already been relieved of control. And once again plays this one nicely. But he's going to be giving away the chance to Murphy once again here. And Shaun has a look to see if you try and do the same formula for 4th times in a row, you can certainly get Wilson into a lot of trouble, but that comes without saying. His control of the cue ball has to be absolutely perfect And if he can try and get this red in towards the pink, he has to do it, as long as he doesn't compromise the actual cue ball position on the same shot here. And gets himself into a lovely little chance of breaking away here into the second stage of the frame. It being frame 8 there, and very important frame for each one of the players. You know, Murphy could go for a fourth in a row there, get himself a 5-3 lead, and Wilson can put it back to square one there. And Murphy had to do a little bit better in terms of that shot. I mean, he's gone for basically split up all of those reds, but for him to make that work, he had to make sure that he got the cue ball dead on the cushion, and he didn't. So Wilson can try and go for the red into the right middle if he wants to. If he feels like he's got absolutely no options, he may as well go for this red into the middle. Because I don't think the roll-up 8 years is going to be over now. And the alternative is going for one of those reds into the yellow pocket there. But whatever he is going to be, we're going to have the resolution in one way or the other. As Wilson can't just roll up to one of those reds. And he can try and go for a screw back though. Of course, that shot from Murphy has given that opportunity to him. But, I mean, I did say we're going to have resolution. I didn't think it was going to be like that. It's a massive chance now for Wilson, because what he's basically done is cannoned the red in towards the pink. He's nearly fluked that one. He's left the red over the middle, but the reason I say it's a massive chance for Wilson is because Murphy can't see that red. He's got the black in the way, and there's no real way that I can see he actually can get through to that red. I mean, he's got one into the left middle, but it's such a difficult shot for him to try and go for. So he basically has to be playing a snooker game every single time onto the right-hand side of the table. So he does seem to have an intention of trying to go for the red in towards the left middle. Yeah, so there was absolutely no way that he was going to get safe there. So he had to go for it. Had no other option there, Murphy. And Wilson is going to have loads of options up ahead of him. And the first one is going to be the red into the right middle. That is nearly fluked previously, but in the end he's still going to take full advantage of, you would think. As he just has a little look to see if that red is going to be sort of potable with no impact on the cue ball. I mean, like the path of the actual white after catching that red. Very thin on the edge there. He's got a couple of reds that he has to avoid there to give him the best possible chance of. I think he has to aim the cue ball either for the brown or green in towards the corner pocket or in towards the blue there. But he's made an absolute mess of the shot. As I say, all you had to do was avoid the red, and you were going to be nicely away there. But didn't manage to avoid the green there. So it's going to be a waste there of a chance. And as I say, Wilson has been working so hard to get that chance on his belt. And ultimately, it doesn't look like it's going to give him any more than a single point here. So 12 points. Remember, he is ahead of him right now. Wilson is off Murphy. And 83 still on the table. So Wilson has to do something about it. And of course, the problem that he's got himself is he has to play a colour right now. So, I mean, does he not have to go for this brown in towards the left middle? I mean, I don't really see the place for the cue ball. Here we go. I mean, it looks like here we go. But I don't really know where you go from here. Because Wilson got himself into all sorts of trouble. As I say, he can't really afford not to go for the colour. But which one does he want to go for? So he's just tried to roll the cue ball down the table. But surely Murphy can put that red into the middle. I mean, Wilson seems to say something about that. I'm not sure what that actually was. And yeah, I'm not sure what that shot actually was. Because yes, Murphy can't play this red in towards the right corner as the camera focuses on. But, I mean, he can surely go for either red in towards the right middle or in towards the yellow pocket there. So I think he's going to go for the yellow pocket simply because of the angle. And he has to play this one very accurately because the green is going to be in the way. And it's a perfect shot there by Shaun Murphy. I didn't finish the sentence there. The green was going to be in the way if he misses the trajectory of the shot and gets too close to the left-hand cushion. But it was played beautifully there by Murphy. And all of a sudden, the position that looked like it was so promising for Wilson to try and take advantage of comes to the disposal, and full advantage of Shaun Murphy into the left middle. He's got the yellow there. He's got the brown as well into the green pocket, and he just has a look there to see what is actually available there to him. And still doesn't seem to have a final outcome now. And let me just refresh this one. I think it's stuck on Murphy. And certainly is. He spotted a yellow here, so apologies for that. I'm going to fix the little issue here. And once again, gets the red in as well. So you can try and go for a couple of shots here. You can try and go for the green along the cushion, or try and get himself up the table, down the table I should say, with a little shot on the brown. There we go. It's all fixed now, and we're all caught up. Yeah, so he's 8 points down right now, and he's got the green basically over the pocket that he could just play along the cushion. And you can also go for the yellow here, because I think his aim is going to be the total clearance here, or somewhere about it, so he doesn't have to worry about the points. But something that he had to worry about was a positional shot on the red, and he didn't get enough of that angle on the cue ball. I mean, he can go for this red now in towards the corner pocket, but this is now far from ideal. Has to be very cautious about it, and he's going to stay out there. There was always a chance there, and it was always a possibility to miss that red for Shaun Murphy, and it's a chance once again that goes back and forwards for this time around. How's red's position? It's a good question there, because if you get full control of them, they're positioned perfectly. But let's take it one by one there. There's the red that Murphy has just missed, and he's put it over the green pocket, so that one is positioned perfectly. And one more that Wilson just managed to take into the right middle, which was actually a pretty problematic position. But because of Murphy trying to run the cue ball for the green previously, it was a perfect one. And now Wilson just cannon the cue ball in towards the reds here. Of course, he had a free shot in terms of having a backup off the red into the green pocket. But now all these four reds are positioned perfectly there for Wilson. As long as he just takes the first one. I think he has to use that red over the green pocket right now. As long as he guarantees himself a position on the next colour, he's going to be fine. And he's not going to regret that. Because, as I say, all the work on the reds has already been done there by Wilson. And he's managed to do that with two shots. The first one was eliminate the difficult red in towards the right middle. And the second one was cannon split the two of those away from each other from the next shot on the blue. But Wilson seems to be stuck with three reds that he can try and actually go for. One into the left corner, one into the right. And in the end, it does seem like he'll go for the rest there. So he needs an extension and a long rest. So he goes for the one into the left corner. So probably the most difficult of the three. Not only in the case of just spotting the cue ball, but getting the nice low angle on the black here. Can't really see him going for the green, because that will just make the queuing and the cue ball position a bit awkward there for him. So I think I answered your question. And one more red that is actually no man's land there, up above the left middle. So he's possible into all of the middle pockets, and also you can try and get in behind it for the shot in towards the green pocket as well. For now, it's the rest shot taken nicely there by Wilson. Pretty straight on this blue ball though. So I think that's the chance for him to go up the table slightly and get that red eliminated. And go down the table once again there for the next couple of reds. And he's tried to cannon the cue ball into the red that I mentioned. Being quite close by the right middle. In the end, he's going to just miss that one. And well, Gary Wilson is having a look to see if that red is actually available there to him to play on the next shot. I think he would like to stay on the top part of the table for as long as he wants to, and as long as he can, to try and eliminate those two reds. One being very close to the green pocket, the other one being further away there. And remember, he is 18 points clear, so you pot those three reds with respectful colours, And you're going to be nicely away from the frame ball area and get yourself a frame on the board for the first time in 4 frames as well. But to do that, you need to get yourself perfectly on the next color. And with his body blocking the angle of the shot now, I want to see what he's actually landed himself in. And he's landed himself in a really awkward situation. Because anywhere but there, especially after potting a red that was so close to the green pocket, I mean, all reds are possible, and they were possible, but I don't think they are going to be anymore. Simply for the situation that he finds himself in. He's still got the green in towards the yellow pocket that he can try and go for. But how is he going to find himself landing on this red in towards the right middle? I mean, it's such a risky shot for him to try and go for. He could easily catch the front end jaw, and I didn't realize. Oh, he caught the blue in. Okay, so he pots the green there. I've ordered him 3 points, and I see him just sit down in his chair and obviously catching the blue on the way in. So 5 points to Murphy, and Murphy now rolls the red in himself. So, I mean, an absolute calamity there from Wilson, from going to absolutely dominating the frame to being dominated by in a couple of shots time. And Murphy is only 9 shots away there from making it a 5-3 advantage to his name. All about this transition now from the green on towards the red there. Onto the lower part of the table. Has to rattle this one in. And now you have to wait for the cue ball. Hopefully past the red. But not going to happen there for Murphy. All you had to do was try and get the cue ball past the red there. But of course it's easier said than done. It was an awkward angle on the green. Murphy has to settle for a little bit of a smile there. And go for sending the cue ball up the table and try and leave the red underneath the black there. So is it going to go past the yellow? The line is good there for him, and it's a perfect line. What a shot there by Murphy. What a shot there by Murphy, because talk about the recovery. It's a perfect recovery there from Murphy. Gets the red in very close to the black there, so still a potential 7 points given away there by Wilson, and gets the yellow and pink in between the cue ball and the red. So left hand cushion is going to be waiting there for Wilson, but has to play this one with some power, and yeah, unlucky to an extent. Is he going to be asked to put back there, or is Murphy going to go for these red in towards the left corner? He's got a ball in hand and he's dropped the cue ball, so he's going to be 35 points. That plays 41 right now. Does Murphy go for this red here? I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't actually asked him to. I'm surprised he can't put it back there because he potted the cue ball there. And he's actually managed to get the red in. But all about this shot now for Murphy. And what a beauty this is. I mean, talk about calmness under pressure. Madness. Calmness personified there for Shaun Murphy. It's not madness anymore. Especially if he makes a total clearance from here. In fact, it's going to be enough with, I think, the blue there. What a shot he just played. A red pretty much on the entire table length. You know, he's put the cue ball as close to the yellow as he could have. It was pretty straight there. Had to hang the cue ball for the blue as well. This is the shot of the frame so far. And of course, what an important frame this could be now for Murphy. As he gets the yellow in. So once again, a little bit difficult in terms of managing to get his way through those shots. So has got a green now in towards the yellow pocket. And just push the cue ball through the brown. And there was a little pause there because I thought he misjudged the cannon there and misjudged the pace of the cue ball. In the end, he judged that one to absolute perfection. And play the cue ball through the shot on the brown. Get yourself lined up for not quite the frame ball just yet. Well, it is the frame ball because he's going to go 14 points clear with only 13 on the table. So the blue for Murphy to get himself only 1 frame away there from facing Mark Williams in the final. Of course, winning 4 frames on the bounce there. Gary Wilson just has to produce moments of magic in the remaining 3 frames, especially if this pink goes in now. And it certainly will do. And it is Shaun Murphy that is dominating right now away from Gary Wilson, and it is now Shaun Murphy having a lead of 5 frames to 3, winning 4 frames on the bounce, and he's only 1 away from repeating the scoreline of Mark Williams against Daniel Wells. Remember, Williams managed to win 4 on the road there, losing by 3 frames to 2. And the match ended with a scoreline of 6 frames to 3 there. So, now Shaun Murphy wins 4 frames of the bounce, but he needs 1 more to get himself into the final. And what a final this is going to be. Gary Wilson, although, will have something to say about that. And it's not going to be pretty, because he's got to perform right here, right now, or he's going to be knocked out by Shaun Murphy. It is now Murphy 5 and Wilson 3. Once again, the odds are going to be all in Murphy's favour, because not only he was the favourite until this match has started, he also is the player to win 4 frames on the bounce there, and should be GG's match shot. It was a match shot there for him, but what a shot it was for Shaun Murphy to get himself 2 frames clear. Of course, remember, if he misses that one, it's still a great chance for Wilson to get himself back in the equation there and re-establish himself for a 4-all draw there. Instead, it's going to be 5-3 lead, and a massive difference there in between those 2 numbers. Wilson needs to try and be calm as he can. I don't think he will be. And, how do you tell tougher Will? It certainly is. It's what I'm saying. He's not going to be calm there. But how do you approach the last couple of frames here by Wilson? Because you can't change anything in your game, because the game has got you past Ronnie O'Sullivan and he's actually got you into a semi-final. And the same game has won you 3 frames on the bounce there. But what do you do there? Do you go for more aggressive shots? Do you go for less aggressive shots? What do you do against a Murphy like that? Because Murphy can actually be sometimes absolutely unplayable. And I think this is one of those days that, unfortunately for Gary Wilson, he had to encounter him with. Let's see. It's been a mad semi-final so far, but it's certainly been a pleasure to watch. Is that going to be the case for the 9th frame? And is it going to be the last frame that we're actually going to see those 2 beautiful players in action? And it is going to be Shaun Murphy to progress into the final, or Gary Wilson has got at least a couple of frames to make sure. Hold on about that. Wouldn't say that. And so Murphy didn't actually see. I don't think he's seen that miss from Gary Wilson, of course, when he got the blue on the way. And fair play, of course, and good sportsmanship from Wilson, but really, you have to say you shouldn't be making a mistake like that. Getting the rest to touch the blue after you've played the shot already is a bit of a waste there. But that's what pressure and that's what these conditions can do to you. It's semi-final stage. Wilson sometimes loses his head. Well, don't they all? Tell me one player that doesn't. I know Trump does. I know O'Sullivan does. One player that I actually will say doesn't lose his head is probably Selby. You could say Williams to an extent. I didn't expect him to be going for absolutely reckless shots today. And I've seen a couple, but I haven't seen too many of them. And he managed to ride off the storm there of Daniel Wells and get himself booked in the final. So he's certainly going to be one of those players. You could say John Higgins, never seen him lose his cool. And the list is going to be limited there. Ding Zhuyi, seen him lose his cool plenty of times. Zhao Xingtong, plenty of times. Barry Hawkins. Barry Hawkins is a good shout. He's the world number 13 right now, but actually I haven't seen him lose control too many times. Robertson is a great shout as well. And Karen Wilson. Karen Wilson is an interesting one because does he ever lose his cool? I think he does. But very few of those times. But wow, what a shot that is from Murphy. That's not the way to get 9 frame underway. Because he has got himself with a difficult shot in terms of having to play a cushioned first shot. And, he caught the jaw of the middle pocket there. So got himself into a foul situation. Williams, as I say, Williams, Higgins, Robertson, Selby probably are the people that I will go for. Probably Karen Wilson as well. But right now it is Gary Wilson being very much on the charge now. And these could be a very cheap frame given away there by Shaun Murphy. as he gets himself 15 points clear here, Wilson. And he's now on the black in towards the left corner once again now. So one thing that you can always say about Gary Wilson is don't write him off there, because he'll come back and prove you wrong about that. Being 22 points clear already, 23 with this red. Ali Carter, nah, absolutely not. I've seen Ali Carter lose control so many times. Absolutely, I'm not having that. Nah. I was thinking about that one, because I don't often disagree with you, Kevin, but absolutely not. I've seen him lose control way too many times there. And once again, the black in towards the right corner. And Wilson can try and go for all of the reds that are available to him. I mean, he can string off a decent break out of them. At least 50 plus points. 31 points right now. 38 with the black. The red to go in towards the right corner after this shot. And, whoa, he didn't think so. And he wanted to get the most out of the reds that were underneath the pink. They're not anymore there, because, yeah, it's just been skyrocketed all around the table. Perfect shot there, but yet controlled by Wilson. Something that you see very rarely on the snooker table, when the player plays such shots with so much power, but yet conviction and control there. Never looked like he was going to lose the cue ball. And therefore, he's going to be rewarded with a brilliant and a couple of reds more now to his advantage. So only 6 of those that I can see are not going to be available. So he's going to pot 9 at least with expensive colours. Plus 6 points given away there for the foul shot. Joke. I mean, hope. I got that because I thought... I disagree with you on that one way too rarely. But I just thought you put Williams and then you put Ali Carter, and I thought, yeah, you're probably taking them on the same subject. It's a good one though, because you managed to get me, and Wilson does manage to get the pink in towards the left middle. So gets himself into a 46 points of a break. The first time since the intermission, of course. He's trying to get the 50 plus break. Managed to get in the first mini session with a perfect break there of 139 points. And a total clearance for good measure. Right now he just has to take the pink in towards the left corner. So playing all of his shots in around the pink there, which usually is surprising because the black has been available pretty much since the start of this break. And he's played that one a couple of times there, but ever since he's moved onto the upper part of the table. As he takes the red in towards the left middle once again now. The blue can go into the same pocket there, and Wilson can have himself at least a 65 points gap there. Murphy, I mean, he'll be thinking about that shot for the majority of this frame now, because you know, you can't help but say what on earth you were doing there, Murphy, because you know, whatever you do on a cushion first shot, don't catch the jaw of the middle pocket, because you lose complete control of the cue ball, and you give away a chance there to Wilson there. He was struggling to find his form. But the best way for you to re-establish your form is you know, getting the most out of the position that is going to be there for you. And Murphy's watching in the background, but that's all he can do, because it's going to be the pink right now for Wilson into the right corner, 72 points clear, and the red into the same corner is going to make him 73 points clear with only 67 on the table. So this is going to be a frame taken away there from Murphy's advantage. Looking like something very much inevitable to happen, as it will be inevitable with Gary Wilson making that red stick along the cushion. So still on the cards for a break of 140 potentially. If he takes all of those 5 remaining reds with the black there. And probably is unlikely with him running way too close to this black here. So if he just takes the red in towards the middle, but he's actually overcut that one. Something that you don't often see. And Murphy, is he going to concede the frame? Of course he will. 80 points, you're not recovering that one. And it is going to be Gary Wilson to get himself 4th frame on the row. Not on the row, of course. And end the Shaun Murphy streak of winning 4 frames on the bounce himself there. And, well, very important frame for Wilson, because he's still in the semi-final. But now, ultimately, that streak of Murphy comes to an end. And only one more win from Wilson will take him into a decider. And then, as we've seen already this season, it's going to be anyone's game for the taking. But what a match it has been already. Pure performance and pure joy to watch there. Both players giving absolutely everything. And producing an absolute show for the fans. Not over. Absolutely not over. And, it's still... Murphy's problem is going to be still yet to find the first chance to close off the match. And if he doesn't get that in the second frame, in the next frame, sorry, all of a sudden he goes into decider, losing 2 frames to the bounce, and not really exploiting his 5-3 frame advantage. Because the one thing that you're gonna have as advantage when you've won 5 frames and your opponent's only won 3, is you say, oh, I only need 1 chance, but he didn't get that chance in the previous frame, so it all goes bound to sort of he's got 1 frame advantage now, but. Wilson can try and exploit that, because if he wins 2 frames to the bounce, he'll be heading into that decider feeling more confident and being the favourite, really. Because the momentum can do great things to you, and even in the decider, if Murphy gets his chance in the decider for the first time in 3 frames, he's less likely to take it than Wilson, who managed to take 2 chances in his previous 2 frames. But that's my point of view. Murphy's still dominating, by the way, in the poll by 70% to 30%. And I would get, right now, it probably would be 65 for Murphy and 35 for Wilson. Yeah, great. Well, that's what I'm saying. We could still see a decider now. I think it's going to be the first one that I'm going to witness in this tournament. I mean, live with you. Because, until this one, you've had Wells against Williams. That was 6-3 of a scoreline. And Ronnie O'Sullivan didn't need any decider to win or lose his matches. When he got to the quarterfinal, lost out to Gary Wilson, of course. But Shaun Murphy, he's going to hope to be off to a great start now in frame number 10. And he needs to get himself a first real chance of closing off this semi-final and booking himself and confirming himself as the finalist there. Aggressive break-off shot there. The black is going to be available there into both of the corner pockets, at least into the right one. And a lovely shot in terms of getting the cue ball in behind the yellow as well. So Wilson has got it all to do now. The thing, though, about the point that I just made, it's only valid if Wilson wins another frame from the first time of asking. If Murphy gets a break of, 50-plus points, I would expect him to close off this frame right now. But all I'm saying is if Wilson manages to win this frame comfortably, he'll go into decider. In my eyes, it's the favourite. But that was not the shot to play for me. And has Murphy given away a chance there? And I think he is checking that, so he's going to go for this red in towards the right middle. Of course, that's another advantage. When you're frame ahead there, you can afford to go for those reds. You have a cover the max, mate. I think you weren't here, but I've done 2 on Ronnie O'Sullivan against Chris Wakeland. Yep. That was beautiful. I might actually do highlight shorts there when the hands get to it. And until then, it's Shaun Murphy whose gun's got to the red into the right middle. And it's a wonderful shot there for him to get the first chance, as I say, to close off this semi-final. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful, by the way, on Chris Wakeland against Ronnie, because it was literally his first chance and the first shot. Didn't think about it until like 60 points. And then he had a couple of more chances later in the match, and everyone was saying second maximum, third maximum, fourth maximum. And it was just such a pleasure to watch there. And the thing is, and I think Ronnie will admit, he wasn't even playing that well. He still managed to, he was like 3-1 clear of Wakeland, and he still managed to be playing horribly and lose 2 frames of the bounce there. But he just managed to come back there and just find those frames when it mattered, book himself into an absolute blockbuster final with Robertson. Lost out by 10 frames to 9, but still, as he said, enjoyed his game. And that was the main thing for him. And once again, the referee has to do a little bit of a difficult job there for himself. As he gets the black onto his spot. But this is going to be a little bit of a problem for Murphy, because A, he's going to slow his game down, because the referee will have to do that every single time Murphy actually pots the black, and B, he's going to be compromised by having to play absolute ideal shots on the black every single time there. So ideally, he wants to cannon the cue ball into the red there, which is exactly what he's done here. So it's a nice shot there for Murphy. And it's finally a chance that I said he would have been waiting for in the previous frame to get himself into the perfect start now of the frame number 10. Once again, rolls the red in. And the funny you asked about Matt, I ain't going to do it the second time, but Murphy's still on 2 reds and 2 blacks now. Of course, he'll be an absolute story of the season probably if he makes this one in the deciding frame for himself. Of course, it's still going to be a scoreline of 6 frames to 4, but for now, I think his main focus is going to be just getting this match over and done with. And once again, got himself lined up nicely onto the red, into the right corner there. So I think he'll play this one for the blue though. I don't think he's going to take a second invitation. And indeed play that shot lovely. Gets himself onto the blue into the left corner. And what a shot he just played there. This could be the shot that actually wins him the entire match here. Because he's already 30 points clear and he's just developed 4 reds in the single shot there for himself. And Gary Wilson's hopes would have absolutely been demolished there. On the same time that he's seen Murphy get that red through to the reds in the way, and he did. This is going to be an absolute horror of an error that he has to make right now. And so far he's been navigating his way brilliantly here. Chance now, yep. Kevin, as I say, Chris Wakelin against Ronnie O'Sullivan. 6 frames to 5 was the one that I did it. And two maximums in a single match there. 38 points though for Murphy, making that 39 with this red. Getting himself on a brilliant chance, and it's more than a chance now. It is a golden opportunity. We're going to have a golden ball in Riyadh, which has been announced at the end of November, where there's a golden chance now for Shaun Murphy to be in the final for the second time in 3 weeks really. And if we didn't have a break in between the British Open for the China International qualifiers, it would have been even less distance in between Murphy's last final and his potential next one. Very close to doing that right now. So 46 points, 47 points clear right now. The blue will make that 50 plus break once again for Murphy. And 91 points clear. As rolls the cue ball nicely once again now onto the red. So a little bit short of pace. But he's got a backup of the red in towards the left corner that he can try and take on with the rest there. And I think he'll go for the backup. And maybe he won't go for the back. Yes, he will. No, he won't. Yes, he will. So he's changed his mind a couple of times on this shot. And once again, changing his mind. And yeah, I just don't think he's too confident in either one of them. And right now, a red in towards the right corner. He's going to get him a nice little chance there for the positional shot on the pink here. But the red that he actually goes for and tries to roll in towards the left corner is going to be easier in terms of getting on the black here really nicely. So 53 points clear right now. As the camera is a bit shaky there, so clearly nervous. And, well, right now Murphy's got a couple of shots now to get himself comfortably into the reds. That, you know, the easy ones that he managed to develop for himself, we've certainly run out of. And a couple of shots ago. Right now he has to go into the ones that are going to be a bit more of an issue. But the first shot is played really nicely there. And getting the cue ball into a good line with a red in towards the right corner. The problem is, of course, a little bit of a distance in between the two of those. Murphy just doing his homework and checking that the pink is going to be potable into the left corner. And whether it's not going to be or it is going to be, certainly not the answer now. And if he ain't going to be potable, you'll just go for the shot of the blue. But with the way he approaches the shot, I think he is going to be potable in towards the left corner. Getting ever closer to the frame ball. Making that the match ball, of course, as well. In fact, that's going to be it. So this red will take him 68 points clear with 67 on the table. The referee just making sure that the pink can't go back on its spot. And, Murphy has to go a little bit of a break now in between his match ball shot there. Something that you don't want to see, but it's natural for the referee to be having to set the pink in the exact position. GG's not quite there. Not quite there. I would still say you need to get the red in and hopefully a colour for yourself as well. And then on that point, he will be. Good game for Murphy. It's one of the easiest reds into the left corner, which I think what makes this weight a bit less nervy there for him. But I've seen those miss before. But it's not going to be missed this time around. But it is going to be Shaun Murphy into the final there, barring Snookers. Gary Wilson has put up a great fight here, but in the end, only one of the man from England could be the winner, and it is going to be Shaun Murphy. Wonderful performance. Getting Murphy. He thrashed Williams, had 200 quid for Murphy to win this tournament, get in. Well, he's still not there yet, unless you've seen the future. He still has got Williams to try and challenge in the final, but I think he will be a favourite. Not on the paper, though. He's going to be the lowest seed coming into that match. But he's going to be a cracker. And shout out to Gary Wilson, by the way. Knocked out Ronnie O'Sullivan in the progress. Had a wonderful campaign. But it was always going to be very, very difficult to try and stop Shaun Murphy. And absolutely is Happy Murphy. And he's going to be Happy Murphy fans. Can he end it on a perfect century break? It's going to be the fourth one of the day here. And of this session. Right now he's on 91 points. So Murphy can just try and get this red in towards left middle. Catches the front jaw slightly, but still is going to be fine with this one. Once again, only used the blue ball twice there. So he still could be in with a shout of something like 140 points of a break. Gary Wilson has to make sure he packs all of his stuff there. I mean, if he wants to go for the highest break of the entire match here, he needs to take those two reds with the black there. Great final to what, looking forward to this one. As I said, I didn't really have a massive horse in this race. And I think it was important that actually Mark Williams managed to win his match against Daniel Wells for it to be an exciting final. And Murphy just rolls the red in towards the corner. So he certainly knows about all of these break stuff, because he tried to take those two difficult reds with the black there. So can he try and end on the 141 points there? The math is correct. And it is correct, because he's got 27 points up ahead of him. 114 points as it stands. And after the break of 139 points from Gary Wilson, 140 points from Shaun Murphy, could we see him taking it one step further and making the fourth century break? At least there. Absolutely brilliant performance, and what a show it has been for the two players. In the end, only one man could win, and congratulations to Shaun Murphy. He has played his part brilliantly, and you know, if he was an actor, he could get an Oscar for this performance, because, you know, it's been flawless. You can't expect him to whitewash his opponent that has been playing really, really well in the semi-final, but ultimately, you know, was losing by 3 frames to 1 there, and he's managed to win 5 frames out of the next 6 there. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And you could run out of superlatives if you're trying to describe Shaun Murphy. And one last puzzle of the jigsaw, and it is going to be the break of 141 points for Shaun Murphy to end it on a brilliant performance there. Gary Wilson has to be disappointed, but that's just a natural reaction. And look at the reaction from Shaun Murphy, giving a nice little wave to the fans. He's going to be excited for the final, not less than we are. And what a showdown this is going to be. If you talk about the overview for the semi-final, I think if you can talk about the opening frame, it was every single one of those frames, by the way, was just incredible. From the start to the finish, we've had some of the breaks of, you know, 81 points, 91 points in the opening frame. We've had so many 4th century, lots of big shout out to Kevin, by the way, because he managed to call that one until the match has started. And I was a little bit pessimistic coming into this, and when I'm saying, you know, Daniel Wells of Mark Williams managed to get 42 as the higher break after 6 frames. Well, we had a break of 141, 139, 140, and 101 there from Murphy. So 4 so high scoring breaks there previously. We still had the breaks of 81 and 91 from each of the players. But if you had to take it through, like, sort of frame by frame basis, the opening frame, brilliant start from Murphy. The first chance and the first break of 91 points at that time, making a total clearance. Absolutely getting the most out of the position. That wasn't easy at that time. Very important for him to do that. In the second frame, manages to fluke a red, get himself 25 points clear. Thank you for coming top man now. Thank you for joining in. Absolutely. Shout out to all of you that have been watching. And yeah, he managed to get himself 25 points, but that wasn't enough when, you know, sort of Gary Wilson stepped to the table and got himself a break of 81 points at that time, which was the highest for himself. And all of a sudden, he wins 2 more frames and he's going into the intermission with only leaving Murphy with a single shot in the last of the 4th frame. Murphy has a break-off shot and that's it. Gary Wilson clears off the table. Well, he doesn't clear off the table, but he's producing 139 points of a break there. And, you know, total clearance as well. Fantastic performance there for him. And, you know, we go into the intermission with still thinking that it could be Murphy's time to come back up against Wilson. And what do we see in the 5th frame? It's a little bit of those scrappy frames at the start of it, but ever since Murphy managed to get himself going there, he produces a break of at least 100 points that I can remember, 101 points. And then he was never stoppable until then, and since then really, because he wins the 6th frame in similar passion and similar sort of style, gets himself into 130 points as well, 4-3, 5-3, and in the meantime, he makes the breaks of 139 and 140, just making it higher and higher for himself. Very important for Wilson to try and get the break that he did in the frame number 9 there. Remember, Murphy, by the way, had a maximum goal as well. Unfortunately, he's managed to miss there. The black would have been 11th to close off the match there. But this time, it is Shaun Murphy that gets himself into the 10th frame, still not having a single chance to take this sort of match under his control and get himself into the final, because ultimately Wilson managed to do it from the single shot of Murphy's in their frame number 9. Managed to produce a break of, I think it was 64 points, which was enough for Murphy to just say, I'm not going to bother coming back to the table. Ultimately would have been the right decision there for him. And he just gets the break of, you know, 140 points in the final frame there. And he's in the final himself against Mark Williams. I mean, that's a perfect story if you're Shaun Murphy. But it's a story that has had around 5 chapters, and he needs to have 1 more if he is to win the China Grand Prix. If the answer is yes to that question, we're going to find out tomorrow. But it is an absolute blockbuster of a final. It is Shaun Murphy up against Mark Williams, the world number 4 up against the world number 12. The world champion against the world champion, and the favourite up against the favourite. One is on favour, and one is on paper, and one is on form there. Is it going to be Murphy? Is it going to be Williams? We're yet to find out tomorrow. For now, thank you very much for joining in, and feel free to tune in for the final. It is going to be the best piece of snooker that we're going to see, I'm pretty sure, from Mark Williams and Shaun Murphy, as they put on an absolute show for us tomorrow. Feel free to check that one out. Thank you once again for your support, and I'll see you around tomorrow. Take care. Up until tomorrow.